What's going on, fellow A Pluses? It's your boy Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new episode of A Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys today over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. It's good to see everybody today. We got 6 incredible topics that we're going to be breaking down. 2 in regards to big blockbuster trailers that we wind up getting. We're going to go ahead and review those for you. Jurassic World Rebirth, and we're going to talk some Fantastic Four for you guys today. We also got a little bit of a deep dive in regards to The Last of Us Season 2, along with some news in regards to the upcoming Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot series. All that, plus much more, guys. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Good morning, fellow A-Plusers. It's your boy, Adam Perez. We're back with another Sunday episode of A Plus Hero Report on this fantastic Super Bowl Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your host, and of course, joined by none other than my co-host, Stuart Branscombe, in the house. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, everyone. Not much. Happy Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Well, I don't know. I'm still debating if I'm going to watch it tonight or not. We'll see. I definitely want to see some of the movie trailers. I definitely want to see the halftime show. I could really care less about the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll see, man. We'll see what happens.
Very, very fair. Yeah, no, for me, I'll definitely be watching it just because I'll be at my parents' place later tonight. So
Nice.
yeah, obviously my dad loves football, so I'll definitely be watching it with him.
I have a couple beers I think still left in our back fridge. Maybe this is my opportunity to open those up and sit back and watch something. But we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the day goes. It's a little gloomy out here in Fort Worth, Texas. Surprisingly, the weather's been really bipolar. Yesterday it was like in the 80s, and then in the evening time, it was windy and cold, and now it's like 40 to 45, 48 degrees outside. I'm like, dude, pick a temperature. What do you want to be right now, Texas?
It just wants to wait for you to get used to one light temperature, and then the moment you get used to it, okay, no, we're suddenly going to be blazing hot now.
Yeah, I was like, man, maybe I should wear some shorts yesterday, and now I'm like, man, I need to put on I was gonna think about putting on my windbreaker jacket here, just to kind of keep a little bit warm. But yeah, man, Texas weather right now is kind of crazy, but we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully, in case it gets like really bad, like during the winter again, like they actually learned from last year, because I know that was like a whole thing. Is like, or not last year. When did you guys have that really bad snowstorm?
We had a really bad snowstorm. Like, this might have been like 3 years ago. Maybe I'm thinking about it. Yeah, it had to be like maybe 4 years ago.
Has it been that long ago already?
Yeah, time's flown by. Yeah, because I remember I remember that snowstorm pretty bad. And it really turned into ice, and just like all the power shut down for like days, like maybe 2-3 days. We didn't have any power around here. I remember my girlfriend, we were living separately at the time, and I remember my girlfriend literally trekked in the snow on like the second day to like drive out to save me and my dog, and brought her to her house because she still had I think she still had like I don't think she was completely out of power, but she had some areas in her house were able to get power. And so we like all hunkered down in her bedroom and put one of the heaters on. And so we just stayed warm the entire time. She had a gas stove, so that was really beneficial for us too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was pretty crazy. But yeah, I remember me and my dog cuddling in my frozen ass apartment one night, just her and I together, huddled on some blankets, just trying to stay warm. It was brutal, man, for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully, if that kind of weather happens again in Texas, like there's like more preparation for like how to like actually handle it, because I know that like they had a storm similar to that like about what was it, like 10 years before that, and everyone was like, okay, let's make sure that next time this happens we're more prepared, and then nothing.
Yeah. I feel like we have been, but I don't think we've seen anything like that since then. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for certainly joining us once again. I'm trying to think of some upcoming movies. We got the Oscars here in about a month or so. If you haven't had the opportunity to go to the movies, there are still some best nominated for best films out there currently right now. Complete Unknown, Anora. Well, I don't think Dune 2 is in the theaters anymore. You can see that on Max. They got plenty of websites that if you want to check out some of these films that are nominated for Oscars, they do have websites where you can find out exactly where you can see them at. So definitely go ahead and do so and check some out. You know what movie I saw last week, Stuart? I saw Wolfman.
Oh, what'd you think of it?
I finally saw Wolfman. Decent film. I I think the plot itself was a little surface level, you know.
Mm.
It wasn't anything too fancy. I really do wish that they went in deeper, but I thought there were some pretty cool, unique things about it in regards to like the perspective of the gentleman that's turning into this wolf, if you will. I thought they did some really neat things of like his perspective versus the human's perspective of seeing him sort of transform. I had never really seen that done in a Wolfman type of film before. And I didn't mind the transformation. I thought the transformation actually looked relatively good in regards to, look, if again, if like I think we said this before in one of the articles that we had talked about, that if you are looking for a traditional like Wolfman sort of thing, like it's this isn't it. But I still thought the prosthetics and the makeup and stuff and the different like the various stages, I thought that looked really good. So in certain areas it impressed me, but as far as like a storyline, character perspective, it was just meh to me, you know. But I still felt like I still got my jump scares in. Nice little popcorn flick. um it felt like I thought they were going to get a little bit more into certain things that they unfortunately didn't. So surface level plot, but cool special effects and prosthetic work for sure.
Mm. And at the very least, though, because I kind of know what the plot is. Like, basically, it's like his wife and daughter are like in this cabin with him, and there's a werewolf outside, but he himself is also turning into a werewolf. So my
Yeah, that I
question
didn't know.
is were you at least on the edge of your seat while watching it at some points?
Yeah, I was. I had no idea that there was even another werewolf involved in here. You know, I was
Mm.
always under the impression that he got cut, and then it was going to be the idea of them sitting in the cabin, like a psychological thriller going on while he's transforming, and then he would be the main threat. I didn't realize that there was another main threat in here, and so that was a fascinating kind of play to kind of see how while the husband's transforming, how they would play while also kind of being hunted. So there was a sense of stakes involved in here. But yeah, I will say, I think because this is the same gentleman that did The Invisible Man. I think The Invisible Man was a much better movie. But I didn't have as many problems with The Wolfman as I think some people certainly did. But if I was hoping for a more denser plot and story aspect to it, it just wasn't there. It missed the mark for me. But if you're looking for just suspense, some jump scares, and cool violence and prosthetic work, yeah, check it out.
Mm.
Just don't expect a lot from it though. But any other movies that are currently out right now, Stuart? Are we we got Captain America coming out, but is there anything else out right now?
Movie wise, we got Companion, which has been doing pretty good at the box office, and of course, yes, we got Captain America. We also have the new movie Love Hurts, which is like a Valentine's Day movie. I totally forgot the main actor's name, but you know, it's the one who was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. He was
it Love
also
Hurts?
yeah, Love Hurts. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was also, of course, you know, child actor back in the day, you know, so a lot of people probably know him as either Data from the Goonies or a Short Round from Temple of Doom. But yeah, it's really cool seeing him doing a lot of acting again, because he was really great in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then, of course, he was also really good in Loki. Hugh Kwan. That's his name.
Hugh
Hugh
Kwan.
Kwan.
I saw
Yeah.
him in a really cool. I guess they were doing a presser tour, and they had some people doing some interviews with him. And there was one interview that I saw that literally turned into a big scale like stunt fight action sequence. Like they're in the middle asking him questions, and then something happens, and then he gets offended, or they challenge him to a battle or something like that, and then it becomes all cinematic. He takes off his glasses, and they have like a whole stunt choreography planned and stuff. It was really cool. I really am a big fan of the marketing for Love Hurts. I had really had no intention of wanting to see it, but there's a part of me now that I may not see it in theaters, but when it streams, it might be one that I certainly check out because it looks like a pretty fun movie.
I was shocked when I saw Sean Astin was in it. I don't think he
Oh, is
plays a
he?
big role, but he's in it for a small amount of time.
That's
And
cool.
I don't know why, man, because I saw the scene with no context, and I'm sure it was like, whatever for the movie. But there was just the inner child of the movie kind of like had a warm heart when I saw the two characters hugging at one point during the movie. And it just kind of was like, oh, that's so sweet. Just because I always think of the two of them from the Goonies,
From the
So it's
Goonies,
just
yeah.
like, it's so cool, like seeing them now as adults, like that many years later and still working together.
That is pretty cool. I haven't seen the companion, but some people have said don't watch the trailers, just go see the movie, and you might be pleasantly surprised. So I might have to check that one out. I haven't seen the trailer for the companion, so I don't know what that's like. But we do have Captain America, Brave New World coming out this Friday, or I should say, early screenings on Thursday, then main release on Fridays for Valentine's. I don't know if you were here last weekend, Stuart, or maybe you were. I can't remember.
No, I
I
think
think
I couldn't
were
make
you?
it last weekend.
Somebody in the live viewer questions had asked me what my anticipation level for um Brave New World was, and I was like, I think I'm sitting at like a 6.5, bro. Like a 6.5. Like I'm really worried about this movie, Stuart.
I wouldn't say I'm worried about it. I'm just not really. I don't have the highest expectations, and I really want this movie to kind of prove me wrong.
Me
I really
too. I
want this
do.
movie to be like, oh, you went in expecting a generic action film. Well, guess what? You're gonna get blown away. I
I
hope
hope
so.
so. I hope so too, man. I hope so too. We'll see how it turns out. I am worried about just all the reshoots, the multiple writers. I feel like have a feeling it may feel like a movie that has multiple writers,
Mhm.
and I'm really hoping that's not the case. But I will keep my fingers crossed, and see it opening weekend for sure. But
Definitely.
yeah, guys, let us know your anticipation level for Brave New World. What you got?
Oh, also, in terms of things coming out, so this show just started last week. The first two episodes got released, and it's so good that I feel like I really need to bring it up here. So it's called Common Side Effects. It's on HBO Max. It is a animated series, but it is also kind of I don't know, the way it's filmed. It feels like it's kind of filmed like a typical like drama series. It doesn't even feel like it needed to be animated. But I like that it's animated because it's got a very unique art style. It looks weird at first, but once you get used to it, it's a pretty cool looking art style. But the plot is amazing, and that's what like kind of drew me in. Basically, this guy, he finds this like mushroom that's like this all powerful medicine that can cure everything. But then you have like pharmaceutical companies and the government trying to kill him and take the mushroom and destroy it because they don't want to imbalance the economy. They want to still profit off of sick people. So
Mm.
it's a really cool show, and you even have Mike Judge, who's like a producer on it. He voices one of the villains in the show, but he does his Hank Hill voice for that villain. And there's just something about hearing Hank Hill as like kind of a billionaire CEO. There's just something about that voice that just works.
That's cool. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot. There's another television series out there that I've been hearing a lot about. Will and Sarah have been talking a little bit about it on their Scene and Nerd podcast. It's a Hulu series called Paradise. Have you heard of it?
I don't know.
It's a series on Hulu called Paradise. It's got Sterling K. Brown in it, James Marsden is in it, Juliana Nicholson is in it. The synopsis, from what I have been able to read, let me see, IMBD. It says, where you at? Yeah, it just says a Secret Service agent investigates the murder of a former president in a seemingly peaceful community, and the hashtag is read between the lines. But I've been hearing some pretty good things about it so far, so it might be one that I want to go ahead and check out for myself.
Yeah, from what I've seen, yeah, the cast looks really stellar, and
Yeah, cast looks pretty good.
yeah, okay, I might have to check this out then.
Let's give some love to some people that are
That's
in
a
our
new one.
live chat with it. Yeah, it's a brand new one. Let's give some love to some people in the live chat today. Enrique in the house. So saw the official trailer and Super Bowl game commercial for the upcoming new animated Smurfs movie. Oh, you know what? I got to find out what time the Puppy Bowl starts. I know that sounds crazy to say, but I want to know when the Superman teaser drops.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the official trailer for the upcoming new SpongeBob SquarePants spinoff movie titled Plankton the Movie, which is going to arrive on Netflix in March. Nice.
It's really weird. All the because they also did one with Sandy, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow, really? Okay, so
Yeah.
Sandy and Plankton. Um, Super Bowl 2025 just hours away. It means that there's going to be more movie trailers during the game. You know, I am fascinated by how they're going to do this. I mean, it feels like they blew their load early this week with dropping all these trailers for Jurassic World, Fantastic Four. I'm like, what are you guys going to show during the Super Bowl now? At least for certain studios. You know, I'm sure there's still maybe 30-second spots. Maybe we still manage to find like new footage in some of the 30-second spots that they wind up showing. But I do believe, I considering what we got this week, Stuart, I am almost 100% certain we will get some Thunderbolt stuff for Super Bowl now.
Mm. I think so too. You know what I would have done if I was DC? I don't think this is going to happen. But since they have both the actors that are going to be in the upcoming Lantern show, I would just have them both in their casual, like civilian outfits, wearing nothing but the ring, and then just do a quick teaser with the two of them. Oh,
The what?
I think.
The ring?
Yeah, well, you know, the Green Lantern ring for the upcoming Lantern show,
Oh,
only because, you know, we already have the two actors. And, you know, obviously I wouldn't expect them to have like a full on Green Lantern suit, but they got to at least have like civilian clothes ready to go, right? So why not just them in their civilian outfits with the ring and then that's it? Then just say coming next year.
let me tell you something, man. You may not even need to do that during the Super Bowl spot. I mean, that could be something that you just drop during the Super Bowl or halftime online or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That would be pretty dope. Or first look at Millie Alcock as Supergirl or something like that.
Oh, yes.
For a Super Bowl reveal during halftime, just drop it online. Why not, man? Who knows? Maybe we get it during the Puppy Bowl. Yeah, maybe it's Enrique says, and finally, my honorable mention is that I saw the trailer for new Boom Boomger versus King Oger cinema movies out yesterday after the Boom Boomger's final episode aired. Yeah, the final episode of Boom Boomger aired. But yeah, I haven't checked it out yet. And I believe this week is episode 1 of number 1 Sentai Goes User.
Oh.
Blossom, what's up, Blossom? Good to see you in the house today. We got Ram Jam in here as always. Sam certainly coming through. Says just finished watching the trailer for the live stage show Kamen Rider versus Super Sentai 2025. It's pretty cool.
Ooh.
I was never able to get into the stage shows.
I've always wanted to see a stage show for either Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, but like not on YouTube. Like I actually want to go to Japan to watch them like in person. That'd be so freaking cool.
That might be pretty cool. Yeah, Ram just started reading the Batman Resurrection novel, the sequel to Tim Burton's Batman movie we never got. Ooh, I never heard of that before. That sounds dope though. Marcelino, what's up, Marcelino? Hey there. I just watched Interstellar, and I really see why Christopher Nolan is a world-class director. You know what? To be fair, Stuart, I don't. Interstellar never hit me when I saw it in movie theaters. Maybe it went above my head, my pay grade, for my education level. Maybe I didn't understand what I was watching, or maybe I watched it really late at night, like at a midnight release, and didn't realize what the F was going on half the time. To really fully appreciate it. But I still think, I feel like Interstellar is one of those that I need to go back and revisit, honestly.
Always worth a rewatch.
Yeah.
For me, it was like I loved it. The first time watching it though, I think it was just because like it all got like so convoluted at the end. It was just that last eighth of the movie where I'm just like, what the hell's happening? But watching it again, you know, it becomes easier to digest the second time around. But that first time watching it, I just feel like, man, there's just so much going on here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out again because it's been a minute, and I remember watching Tenet also and kind of feeling that same way. Like, what the is going on here, dude? Like, especially by the end, Tenet was one of those movies for me too. But I have to revisit Interstellar for sure. I'm glad you liked it, Marcelino.
I definitely got to revisit Tenet because I've only seen that one once, but Interstellar, I think I've seen like 3 or 4 times now.
Sam says, "Hey Adam, would you like to see a Pocahontas live action remake?" Not really. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good on all that. I'm still watching the new season Chinese Tokusatsu Armor Hero Star Ray episode. Looks cool.
Ooh,
I haven't heard of
okay.
that one before, but maybe I'll check it out.
Armor Hero Star Ray. I'm looking that up now.
But yeah, guys, look, if you ever have any comments or questions or want to join our conversation as we go through some of our topics today, certainly feel free to. We love chatting it up with you guys in the live chat. So as we go through some of our topics, let us know your thoughts. And with that, Stuart, let's go ahead and kick off this show right, man, with our first segment of the day. And we've got honorable mentions, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know, honorable mentions is a segment of the show where definitely topics that we felt you certainly deserve to know about, but just did not quite make our top 6 topics here for you guys. But we definitely felt that you guys certainly needed to know. Stuart, did you have any honorable mentions for us today?
I got 2. One of them is kind of weird, but I just wanted to bring it up just in case there were some people who didn't know about this. But if you are trying to watch the Super Bowl, but you don't have like a streaming service that is currently playing it, or you don't have like cable, luckily Tubi TV has got you covered. You can actually watch the Super Bowl for free on Tubi. I don't even think you need an account to watch it. I think you can literally just go to the website and watch it. Worst case scenario, if you do have to have an account, it's totally free. I love Tubi. It's like my favorite streaming service. It's completely free, and you get like some of the most obscure things on there in like the best way.
That's cool.
And then the other honorable mention I have, it's actually a fun fan theory, a headcanon, if you will. So you've been watching Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's very clearly in an MCU adjacent universe, just not the MCU, because they reference some very specific events that tie in directly to the MCU. So my fan theory is that this is similar to what another show did, a show that we thought was part of the MCU until I think it was like season 6, where it kind of got confirmed that it couldn't possibly exist in the MCU, and that is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it led me to think, what if Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is not in the MCU, but it is actually in the same universe as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? That is my current fan theory / headcanon. And until Marvel says otherwise, I'm gonna treat it like it's actually canon.
Well, what happened in the show that made you think that, though?
Huh?
Or you
Just both of them feeling like they could exist in the MCU, but they clearly don't because of kind of inconsistencies. Well, obviously with Spider-Man, the main one being, of course, Norman Osborn. So we know that him existing, that alone shows that it can't exist in the MCU. And then, of course, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it was the whole thing after season 5. Literally season 5 ends with them being like, Thanos is coming. But then season 6 and 7, they never mentioned the snap, not once. And it's like, I'm sorry, but if half the universe goes missing and that doesn't get brought up a single time, I'm assuming that doesn't happen. So I'm just going with the assumption the snap never happened in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and therefore it's not in the MCU. So maybe if neither of them are in the MCU, maybe they're both in their own universe, together.
Or maybe Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 6 and 7 is the snap. Maybe that's the snap world. Where did all those people go? Maybe the snap happened between those seasons and they're just living their lives wherever the snap people went. Maybe that's in the snapped universe, Stuart.
Snapped universe.
I don't know. Speaking of Spider-Man, if you guys don't know, we did drop our episodes 3 through 5 yesterday afternoon for you guys. It currently is up on our YouTube channel if you haven't had the opportunity to check it out. Stuart, I usually feel some type of way about releasing episodes in batches, but 2 batches in for Spider-Man, I'm kind of feeling it. I kind of can see why. I felt like the first 2 were a nice introductory appetizer course, whereas the next 3, I think, took the show a little bit to a new level, but it almost encompassed a a particular storyline or a story beat in all three of these episodes that I think fit really well. So I'm going to be interested to see when we get into episodes 6, 7, and 8 if that's like another. So it feels like chapters. It almost. I wonder if it's going to feel like another chapter to the story as we get into it. What did you think when you saw the first these three episodes together?
I'm kind of with you. Like, I thought it was weird the batches and how they release the episodes with 1 and 2, and then releasing 3, 4, and 5 all together. But it does make sense in terms of the way the story flows. I think that because it was basically kind of like Lonnie's arc was episodes 3, 4, and 5 all together, and I think that watching it back to back really helped. Whereas like episodes 1 and 2 really felt like it was just kind of like Peter getting introduced to being Spider-Man and trying to figure out how to in fact, I'd actually say like the first 2 episodes kind of felt like Peter trying to figure it out on his own, and then now episodes 3, 4, and 5 are Peter trying to figure it out with Norman Osborn and Harry Osborn as well. So I can kind of, to me, it kind of feels like there was a purpose for the way they released the episodes. Like, I still find it weird, like from 2 episodes to 3 episodes, and then we're going to have another 3 episodes, but story-wise, it makes sense.
Yeah, story-wise, I think it actually works. A couple other honorable mentions here for you guys. Blue Beetle is back in the news. You know, we were just talking about this last week. I think it was Marcelino that brought it up, or somebody brought it up about characters. Oh, was it Dooms? I can't remember who asked a live viewer question about like characters that could have like a societal impact. And he brought up like Miles Morales and Static Shock. And I think I also threw in somebody that also had an opportunity to still do that was Blue Beetle. And I remember Marcelino saying, bringing up the animated series. Just literally like the next day, Stuart, like no joke, the next day, the direct.com had an exclusive article. Blue Beetle star Jolo Maraduena confirms 2026 release target for DC Return. And he talks about the idea that that's when he thinks the animated series may drop. It says, speaking with the direct at Saturn Awards, which I think Jolo Maraduena won a Saturn Award for his time on Cobra Kai. He says that he hopes that new Blue Beetles animated series will release in 2026. He says, we're hitting hard this animated project. He said he hopes to get this settled out sometime in 2025, with the goal being to show everyone the show next year. The interviewer says it's a crime that we haven't seen Blue Beetle for as long as it's been. He says, hey man, arrest me, I'm ready to come back. We're hitting hard this animated project, hoping to get this settled out next year settled out this year for everyone to see next year, or talking about 2026. He says he explained that he does recognize that there's a process for things, but that regarding potential talks with James Gunn about the future, he has, quote, no reason to believe that he's lying. In the meantime, he says he's just happy to have done this first one, referring to the movie itself. So he says, look, he's got his hands in the kitchen. I don't want to walk in while the chef is doing his thing, but I can say that once they're finished with this 3-course meal, I'm ready. And look, I have no reason to believe that he's lying. Like, whatever, we're adults, say whatever you want. I'm just happy to have done this first one, and I'll continue to spread the word about that while we get the second one drafted up. So he's hoping that things get worked out here in 2025 to where something can release the following year in 2026. I think that's, I don't want to say wishful thinking, but I am curious. I really am curious as to like what the process is, like how far along is the process. You know, he doesn't really clarify the idea. He doesn't really clarify sorry, my girlfriend's in the window making faces at me. He doesn't really clarify the idea. Like, yeah, I've read all the scripts. You know, I've seen some of the animation. I'm eager to get into the booth, sort of thing. He doesn't say any of that. So I am kind of curious, like how far in pre-production this series is. Do you think it's a potential we could see this in 2026? But I feel like I need more information first.
I feel like we could see it 2026, but it'll probably be like late 2026, and that's assuming that they've at least started animation work on it by now. But
I
if they
hope so.
haven't, because he seems to be pretty in the dark about it, and depending on how they do it too, they may want him to voice before they start animating. So I'd say I'm going with the assumption 2027. The more I'm thinking about it out loud, the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, animation takes a while, especially now. So I am going to go with 2027. That's my theory for the release date.
Yeah, we'll see. Gray. What's up, Gray? Gray Shorts 1047. An animated series is an excellent idea, in my opinion. I dig it too. I mean, look, I definitely want to see him in another live action film, but in the meantime, in order to keep his character relevant and still be a part of the DCU, I think an animated series is great. I mean, look what they did with Creature Commandos. I was really impressed with that series as a whole. And if DCU can keep up the momentum of making great animated series, I'll be on board. So yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What else we got? Honorable mention wise. Gundam fans, get excited. We've been talking about this for a while. But Gundam is officially filming. Co-production of the Gundam live action movie has begun. We've got, I think it's Legendary Pictures and Bandai are working together production-wise to bring this to life. So it's actually happening, y'all. We got ourselves a Gundam live action movie. Has in fact begun production. Filming is a go. So yeah, get hyped, y'all. Get hyped.
And Legendary Gundam has a huge fan base, so don't fuck this up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they doesn't have a huge fan base for sure. We also got a new look here from Avatar. Was it Fire and Ash? Yeah, the third film that's set to go ahead and drop later on this year. For those of you who are wondering, this character here, according to is Palak. He's the chieftain of the Wind Traders in Avatar Fire and Ash. The Wind Traders, according to the costume designer, says they're upbeat, happy, and colorful. And when they come into our movie, everyone's excited to see them. It's like a circus is in town. I think they've even boasted about a huge sort of air battle that's supposed to go ahead and take place as one of the climactic scenes of the upcoming third film here. But yeah, they if I'm not mistaken, I think this is set to go ahead and actually drop this year, December. So we don't have to wait very long for the third Avatar film to certainly drop. But
Oh my god, we're not waiting another 13 years?
No, sir. No, not at all. So yeah, looking forward to that one. And then, Stuart, before we get into our main topics, I did just want to bring this up here. I don't think I pulled up an image for this, but I will go ahead and post one real quick here. Particularly for Star Wars. Where's my Star Wars background that I want to use? Do I not? Oh, hold on a second. Oh, there we go. We did have, as we're all waiting for this Rey Skywalker movie to drop, the writer for the upcoming movie recently came out and talked about what inspires him when it comes to writing Star Wars. And I thought it was pretty fascinating what he had to say. For some reason, Stuart, when I go on social media, and again, this is to my own fault. If you can stay off social media, please do. It rots your brains. There's a lot of people that pushes back for some reason about the notion that Star Wars isn't political, or that Star Wars shouldn't be political. And it really makes me wonder how much these people know about George Lucas and what really brought forth his original trilogy movies. I think there's a really big lack of education out there amongst some Star Wars fans that I think is really pivotal to understand when it comes to Star Wars. And, if people believe that Star Wars shouldn't be political, I think you're really missing the point of the franchise itself. But I thought this was interesting. I want to bring up this article here real quick. This is from Film Stories, I believe it's called, where the writer George Nolfi the writer for the upcoming New Jedi Order screenplay. This is an exclusive interview they had with him. They talked about him a little bit. Um, he says, although he's writing for some major studio films, including Ocean's 12 and Bourne Ultimatum, Nolfi hasn't tended to get too involved in major franchises. As a writer-director, he's best known for The Adjustment Bureau, a light and surprisingly philosophical adaptation of a Philip K. Dick story, and The Banker, a period drama starring Anthony Mackie. Elevation, again starring Mackie, is a sci-fi monster movie, but one in which its heroes use their intelligence and wit to survive rather than brute strength. With that in mind, we couldn't help wonder, how does a writer bring their own interests and personality to a series as lore heavy as Star Wars? He says, the way I approach it is, you look at what's come before you. You look at the broad ideas of what they want to do, meaning Lucasfilm, Disney, Charmaine Obaid Chinoy, the director, and then you do what a writer does and try and put beats of a story together, try and imagine characters, and then you present that with an understanding that it needs to honor, obviously, a long, incredible tradition. Nolfi studied philosophy and politics before he became a screenwriter, subjects that might, we suggested, find their way into Star Wars scripts. This is what he says. And I think this is important for a lot of people to understand, because George Lucas in past interviews has clearly expressed this before. He says, if you think about George Lucas, the 6 movies that he did and the universe that he created, it's actually very steeped in broad notions of politics. It's not about today per se, but there's the empire's Nazism / Roman Empire, the democracy of the Roman Empire collapsing and becoming an empire, and the perennial story of human beings organizing themselves and against chaos, and then the tools that help human societies tap down on chaos becomes oppression. So that it's really very core to what I think George Lucas was trying to talk about. And one of the wonderful things about science fiction and Star Wars, which is more almost science fiction or space opera, is that you can raise the deepest issues without it feeling like a philosophy class or a political science class. And something I read in the newspaper today, it can be about real things, deep things. And I just thought that was really eye-opening in regards to seeing how George Nolfi views Star Wars, and just his take on how he wants to approach the franchise as a whole when he tackles these films. I don't know. What did you think about it?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And that's it's so funny because like the moment you like hear certain lines from any Star Wars movie, it feels like it should be obvious that, yeah, there's always been like political undertones to the Star Wars franchise as a whole. Like that line alone from Padme, "This is how democracy dies," with a roaring applause, yeah. So it's, yeah, to me, that's like that's just really bizarre. If like, I mean, obviously there are, because you see them online all the time, people that like are Star Wars fans, but they also complain that there's too much politics in modern Star Wars, and it's just like, what are you talking about? And again, if you don't like modern Star Wars, that's totally fine. There are plenty of reasons people can give me where I'm like, okay, cool, I may disagree, but I get where you're coming from in that kind of case. But when you bring up like, like it's being too political or too woke, that's when I just stop taking you seriously.
Yeah, for sure. I even love the scene in Attack of the Clones when it's Anakin and Padme just in the field talking about it, right? Like Anakin is definitely pushing the notion of a dictatorship, and Padme calls him out on it, and then he tries to joke about it, and they roll in the grass. And I'm like, bro, that's like, come on, man.
You just found out the guy that's flirting with you right now might want to be a dictator, and you're push that off. Okay, not the first time she does that in the movie. I mean, he does that again after he slaughters all the sand people.
Yeah. But yeah, it is just funny to me. And George Lucas has talked about just his trilogy again, kind of being a mirror image to the events of, his stance, I guess, on the Vietnam War and things like that too. So politics is engraved in it, and it's really the idea of rebels going up against an empire. You know what I mean? And I swear, I think people these days think the empire might be the heroes in this story, which is unfortunate. So yeah.
I mean, ironically, like I think some of them are smart enough to like watch Star Wars and know that the Empire is the bad guy, but they're dumb enough to the point where if the Empire was real, they would think they were the good guys, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's scary. Yeah, but yeah, guys, those are in fact our honorable mentions for today's show. We are running a little bit late here, man, so I do apologize. So let's go ahead and kick off this show. Are you ready to get into these main topics with me, Stuart?
Always.
Let's do it, man. We got some incredible topics to discuss with you guys today. As the production studio said, screw the Super Bowl, man. We got a bunch of movie trailers we want you guys to watch this week before we drop any sorts of teasers for the Super Bowl on this Sunday. So we got two big trailer reviews we're going to dive into today. We got Jurassic World Rebirth and Fantastic Four. But Stuart, I want to start off with Jurassic World Rebirth, and specifically because one, I have been looking forward to this movie, and I've been really impressed with Universal in the sense of how quickly this movie kind of came in production. I mean, they announced it, and then like within weeks, it felt like here's some casting news. Boom, we're in front of films. Hey, guess what? The filming is wrapped, and now we got all this stuff just ready to drop. I mean, when they talked about releasing this film in 2025, I kid you not, I felt like we literally got the announcement like sometime in 2024, like literally like a year away from when it was about to go ahead and drop, thinking to ourselves, there's no way they'd be able to get some of the animation and the special effects ready to go. But here we are, man, 2025. They literally just like knocked this one out. And I've been really curious to see what it was going to look like. And we finally got our very first look at it this week. And for those of you who have not had the opportunity to check out the trailer, Stuart, I think we should play it for everybody. Let me see if I can pull this up here. I thought this was a pretty impressive trailer, if you ask me, especially in regards to it being our first look that we wind up getting. But let me go ahead and let me pull this back here. All right. If you have watched this trailer, let us know. But and let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. You ready, Stu? Are you muted? Okay, cool. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Dr. Henry Loomis, this is Zora Bennett, our mission specialist.
Sorry, what mission?
This would be a medical breakthrough that could save countless lives. It comes from the largest dinosaurs on the planet.
Oh my God.
Fortunately for us, all
Damn.
these species exist in one isolated place. Can you be ready tomorrow?
I can guarantee your safety. I mean, more or less.
More or less?
He's your guy?
We're the best at moving things and people in and out of places they shouldn't be.
Move up towards Barbados, avoid government patrol, but there aren't that many anymore.
Why's that?
No one's dumb enough to go where we're going.
Real quick, I want to stop this. One of the things that I will say that really stands out to me about this trailer so far when I watch it, even though this is directed by Gareth Edwards, he's done some great movies like Rogue One. He also did, what is that movie with Denzel Washington's son in it? And the robot. The AI robot. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it right now. But he does really great sort of wide landscape shots. I don't know why, but when I watch this, I feel like I'm watching a Steven Spielberg directed film in a sense. I don't know what it is, but I like maybe it's the color grading also, but it just feels like a traditional Jurassic Park film to me when I watch it. I don't know what I'm picking up when I watch this trailer, but it puts me in the classic original trilogy feels for some reason.
This island was the research facility for the original Jurassic Park.
We need DNA from the 3 biggest dinosaurs.
Do we have to get a sample from an egg?
I suppose we could try and get it from the parent, but they're a flying carnivore the size of an F-16.
Maybe we should make it quick.
These dinosaurs were too dangerous for the original park.
Please don't say they're raptors.
characters. The worst of the worst were left here.
Stuart, what the fuck is this, man?
It looks like one of the dinosaurs from this movie met the Cloverfield monster and they got busy.
Isn't that terrifying, dude?
Yeah, that would be.
I do love the idea that we are kind of going back to the island here, from the first one. I don't know, is this one of the islands that we've visited before? Like I know that there was like they had, was it like 3 different islands or something like that? I don't know if this is the one with the park on it, but the research facility, I'm wondering if we've ever visited the research facility island before, in one of the past movies. I might have to do my Jurassic Park homework again.
I might have to rewatch the franchise because I only remember 2 islands, the original and then the island from Jurassic Park 2. And then as far as I can remember, so, you know, if anyone in the comments remembers better, definitely let me know. That island was the one that we went to in Jurassic Park 3, but then in Jurassic World, the one we went back to was the first island. They just kind of revamped the first island, fixed it up, and then, you know, made it the attraction it was meant to be. That's how I think. So I don't know. It is possible there were other islands. I would just find it weird that was never brought up in the second movie, because I feel like if there was ever a time to bring up there's more than 2 islands, it would have been the second movie where he brought up there's more than 1 island.
Yeah, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe there wasn't 3 islands. But yeah, the research facility. So I mean, I kind of dig the concept and the idea of like this is where they experimented and stuff, and really created this mutant sort of failed experiment, that's like something straight out of a horror film here. But I kind of dig the design. It's pretty terrifying to me. I make fun of the idea that it's definitely Rancor inspired, maybe like Xenomorph inspired here, like they just had a baby. But I think just from the tone and the way that they're going to present these creatures, I think it could really work. But we'll see.
I feel dumb for not thinking of Rancor. You're totally right. Like for some reason Cloverfield came into my mind, but now now I can't unsee it. Rancor.
We put ourselves in a place we don't belong. Survival is a long shot.
What the hell are those?
They're helping the mosasaur defend territory, stalk, hunt.
None of what you just said is good.
I hate that line. I don't know why. I hate that line.
It feels very much like a typical Marvel line.
Yeah, like I know. Like, yeah, of course. Why'd you have to say that? Like, I think it's a terrible line. None of what you said is good. Yeah, duh. Like I don't need to tell me that. But yeah, man, Jurassic World Rebirth coming this July. What did you think of it, Stuart?
Looks like it could be interesting. This one actually looks like it almost looks like you can watch it without having watched anything but the first movie, and you could like kind of follow along. Like it almost feels, because they don't really mention anything from Jurassic World, the Jurassic World trilogy. It almost feels like this is kind of just its own thing, which I really like. It gives me more incentive to watch it since it won't be reminding me of the other 3 movies that I just, not a fan of personally.
Yeah, man. I know you're not a fan of this stuff. I got to tell you, I didn't know I needed Scarlett Johansson in a Jurassic World movie until I saw her in this trailer. I love the cast. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with this movie. It does for some reason bring back sort of, I don't know, I get original Jurassic Park vibes in here. The music, I think the score really worked for me. Being able to see some of the new dinosaur designs that they come up with, especially the really big one that we see at the very beginning in here, kind of reminiscent of that of the classic like Brontosaurus kind of when they see the Brontosaurus for the very first time on that island and are just complete awe. There's just something really cool about the size and scope of that scene and how it's sort of filmed. It just feels like they've gone back to their Jurassic Park bag. I know the writer David Cope is back from Jurassic Park, and him and Steven Spielberg really worked on this film also together. And so I get those vibes when I'm in here, when I'm watching this particular trailer. It does look like it's going to be action packed. There is an element of horror that I think is injected into it, not just so much adventure, but just stakes. I feel like the stakes are going to sort of be brought back to this franchise a little bit more. And so, yeah, that's really everything I can ask for as far as like first look teaser trailer or first official trailer to get me excited to see this movie again. Yeah, I'm on board with what I've seen so far.
Definitely. I'm definitely more excited about this one than I was the last film for sure.
Yeah. Why do you think that is though?
Because I know it's not relying on cheap fan service. I know that this one's like seems like it's actually just trying to tell its own like kind of unique story, and I like the motivation so far of the characters at the very least. Like, you know, like it seems like at least one of them is like doing this because they actually think they can do some good. I'm waiting though, however, for the big twist of oh yeah, you know, what we told you was technically true. There is a cure that you helped us find, but you know, we're not just gonna give it to people. Obviously, we're gonna charge them trillions of dollars for it. It'll be just
that
like
corporate greed.
Exactly. It'll be just like that South Park episode. We just found the cure for AIDS. It's exactly $1 million.
Yeah, leave it up to Jurassic Park to exploit people at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's they did drop an article too that came along with it. Vanity Fair had a really great one here. Jurassic World Rebirth goes for the jugular. There's a little bit of everything that's scary, is what they say in here. Let's see. Producer Frank Marshall and Steven Spielberg, who astonished audiences with the groundbreaking visual effects of the 93 original, felt that Rebirth should lean into causing fear. After completing 2 trilogies of films, which collectively generated billions of dollars at the box office, they believe a 7th film could escalate the risk to new levels. He says, I've always said that visual effects are great. CGI is a great tool, but it makes you lazy because you know you can do anything, is what Frank Marshall said. It's got to be dangerous. That becomes the mission of Rebirth. You're in one place. You don't know what's around the corner. You got a different jungle. You got more water. You got higher cliffs. There's a little bit of everything that's scary. Add to that a new array of creatures literally engineered to trigger fight or flight. And they did give us some brand new images too. We'll kind of go through some of those as we go through this. Stop me at any point if you need me to, Stuart. It says the story follows members of a recovery team as they venture to an island near the equator that was once home to the first Jurassic Park's research lab. The squad is trying to retrieve genetic material that could lead to a medical breakthrough for humanity. But 3 decades later, the mistakes made at that ruined facility have not gone away. They've endured and only grown bigger. These are dinosaurs that didn't work. There's some mutations in there, is what Frank Marshall says. They're all based on real dinosaur research, but they look a little different. Imagine the nightmare version of a giant lizard that evolved naturally millions of years ago. Director Gareth Edwards says when you make a creature, you get a big, massive pot, and you pour in your favorite monsters from other films and books. He says the filmmakers' beastly bona fides are already well established. Gareth Edwards made his breakthrough in 2010's Monsters, about invasive alien titans who fall to Earth, and follow that up with he also did Godzilla. Adding to his Rebirth dinosaur inspiration were a few other favorites: the skeletal xenomorph from Alien, the dungeon behemoth from Return of the Jedi, the Rancor, and the original big bad from Spielberg's first Jurassic Park movie. Those references turn up in all one particular twisted dinosaur that turns up in the trailer coming Wednesday. Some Rancor went in there, said H.R. Geiger. I wonder who that is. Is he the creature designer? And a little T-Rex went in there also, said Edwards. The thing that scared Edwards was living up to Rebirth's predecessors, which he feels has been disguised as a family-friendly fare over the years. Jurassic Park is a horror film in a witness protection program. Most people don't think of it like that. We all wanted to see it. We all went to see it as kids, but I was scared shitless, to be honest. When I was at the cinema watching the T-Rex attack, is one of the most well-directed scenes in cinematic history. So the bar is really high to come on board and to try and do this. Do you remember how you felt, Stuart, when you saw it for the first time?
Really, really hard to say because never saw it in theaters because I wasn't even born when it came out in theaters, just to show how long ago that was. So I had them on VHS, both Jurassic Park 1 and 2, and I watched them frequently as a kid. I can't remember how I felt the first time watching it, though. I know I must have loved it because I watched it over and over again, and I still do. But yeah, I wish I could remember how I felt when I first watched it.
I just remember, I don't remember if I was, all I can say is I remember when I saw it in theaters, my uncle definitely took me for sure. I just remember being intimidated and frightened by the roar of the T-Rex. I think the sound quality of that movie is really what pushed it over the edge to me. It's like unlike anything I ever heard. That, along with the screams and then the tension. Yeah, I think the roar of the T-Rex alone is what really frightened me.
I think the two scenes that scared me, one was the water, the specifically the cup in the water when you have Jeff Goldblum looking at it and ripples in the cup, that one, and then the Velociraptors. Like, I think specifically when you see that these guys can like actually open doors, I think they started to scare me more than the T-Rexes. It's like, oh crap, nowhere is safe with these guys.
Yeah, for sure. They also go on to say Frank Marshall has revealed that his screenwriter David Cope, who adapted the late Michael Crichton's 1990 novel for the first movie, has gone back to the original source material to pull out a scene for the new movie they had always hoped to use. Marshall has revealed it's a sequence in which Dr. Grant and the two children attempt to drift through a lagoon in a rubber raft without waking a slumbering Tyrannosaurus Rex. They don't succeed and end up paddling for their lives. The Tyrannosaurus was now chest deep in the water, but it could hold its big head above the surface. Then Grant realized the animal wasn't swimming, it was walking, because moments later, only the very top of the head, the eyes, the nostrils protruding above the surface. But then it looked like a crocodile, and it swam like a crocodile, swinging its big tail back and forth so the water churned behind it. That was one of the quotes from the Michael Crichton novel. He says the final ingredient for the new film's terror factor, Edwards says, is supplied by the audience. The enduring instinctual fear of being chased and devoured. There's something very primal that's buried deep inside of us. As mammals, we evolve with this fear of bigger animals that's going to come one day and maybe kill us or our family. The second we see it happening on screen, you're like, I knew it. We had it too good for too long. Complacency was the biggest risk for early humans. Marshall credits Cope, who returns to the Jurassic World film for the first time since Lost World. He came up with this idea that dinosaurs were passé now. People were tired of them. They were an inconvenience. People weren't going to museums to see them or to petting zoos. They were just in the way. And the climate was not conducive to their survival, so they were starting to pass away and get sick. But there was one area around the equator that the perfect climate and temperature and environment for them. This leads to a shot of Rebirth that invokes an iconic image from the first Jurassic Park when a T-Rex rips through the visitor center. When dinosaurs ruled the earth. In the new film, a similar image appears in the opening but in a less majestic way. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff in here. If you guys want to check it out, I would highly recommend checking out the Vanity Fair article that dropped. They had a bunch of brand new images in here too.
I did also, I forgot to bring this up when we were watching the trailer. I did love that opening shot from the trailer where it was like the scene from, it was like the set from the first movie with the T-Rex skeleton and then the same banner right above it. I did really like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they were. Oh, I think this is the shot that you're.
Yeah, that's the one.
But yeah, sorry, I think my screen has frozen on me.
Oh no, you're moving. You're fine.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, that was the opening shot. Some people are theorizing that this is the guy. This is the from the very first movie when Dr. Grant is on his like archaeology. God damn it, Adam, I can't pronounce it. When he's like giving this tour of his site, and he's given like this class on raptors. And there's this one fat kid in there that like starts back talking Dr. Grant, and Dr. Grant like terrifies him with the raptor nail. Some people are theorizing that that's this kid. That's him now as a doctor in the field of archaeology.
Be one way to bring it in full circle, but I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't think that's gonna be the case.
No, you don't think that's him?
No, I don't. If anything, if they were going to bring back any kids from the original movie, I mean, I feel like you'd want to bring back, the two main kids from the original movie, the ones that survived thanks to plot armor.
Plot armor. I love it. They had an Entertainment Weekly article too. There were a couple of Entertainment Weekly articles. One of Scarlett Johansson saying how much has been a dream of hers to actually be in a Jurassic World movie. How like anytime that they've been she's heard of a new one that's opened, she's always told her agent like, I need to be in this movie, and now she finally got her wish. And there's another one here. Gareth Edwards teases Entertainment Weekly. He says, once you're on the adventure, the film doesn't let go until the end credits. The enjoyment of it is in the moment-to-moment chase, escape, scare, horror, curveballs, and the whole plotting of the set pieces and the dinosaur moments. So that sounds fascinating to me.
Yeah, it sounds, sounds ambitious.
It does sound ambitious. And I will say, I do think that they've got the right people behind the camera, and David Cope as the writer and Gareth Edwards to certainly bring this movie to fruition. The creator, Gareth Edwards, the creator. Do you remember that movie? Did you see that, Stuart?
Oh, I remember the trailers for it, but I know I have not seen it.
Yeah, I do remember that. As far from a directing standpoint, I thought Gareth Edwards did an incredible job with that film. But yeah, so he's definitely familiar with this type of world. So we'll see how it comes out. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about the Jurassic World trailer. Jurassic World Rebirth trailer, I should say. Marston says, look up Jurassic Park 4 concept art, and it shows what they originally had planned for the dinosaur hybrids, and it's terrible, which is why they made the Indominus Rex. It felt more grounded. I can understand that. I haven't checked them out, but I might have to check those out now. What was your reaction on watching the first Jurassic World movie? For me, after watching the first, I got so nostalgic and felt that they were paying homage to the past while telling their own story. I'm actually a big fan of the first Jurassic World movie. I really enjoyed it. There were some really brutal shots in there that I didn't think that they would do. One of my favorites was the poor girl that played Lena from Supergirl, where she gets picked up by the pterodactyl out of freaking nowhere.
She gets like ripped apart.
Oh my god! Just picked up and then just thrown into the ocean where the dinosaur comes to devour. I mean, just brutal stuff, dude. Just brutal stuff. But I was a big fan of it. I was a really big fan of the first Jurassic World. That's probably like out of the trilogy, that's the one that I can go back and rewatch over and over again, because it is a aspect of nostalgia, a park, just a fear of like people trying to escape and stuff. I was a big fan of that.
I I feel like I left that theater when the first Jurassic World movie came out. I was the only one disappointed in that movie. It kind of felt like, and even now, like I think that like when I talk to people about the first Jurassic World movie, a lot of people like the worst thing I hear people say is, "Oh, it was just all right," you know, and it was just me, and I just don't know why. I just don't like the first Jurassic World movie. It just didn't connect with me the way it did with other people. I guess, yeah, I just didn't really like any of the characters, and then the I don't know, none of the action really blew my mind the way it did with other people, which is surprising because like usually I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. So, you know, yeah, it's like when so many people see something that you don't see, it's like I'm sorry, I don't think the problem is with the movie. The problem with me.
It's
So
not
I don't
you,
know.
it's me. It's not
Yeah,
you, it's me.
yeah,
I
exactly. It's not the movie, it's me. So I don't know why.
That's all right. Well, hopefully you walk away enjoying this one.
I hope so too.
He says, I find it funny that some people are quick to blame studios for making more Jurassic Park movies when it's the audience that supports the movies making them. People should
Yeah.
be at the audience, should be down on the audience more. So I don't know what he means. But yeah, no, I mean, look, first off, dinosaurs always sell, it seems like. I do hope that this movie does financially well. I think Dominion made $1 billion. I thought maybe I'm tripping. Can you look that up? Box Office Mojo
Yeah.
for Jurassic World Dominion. I thought it made a lot of money. Maybe I'm mistaken. But I still haven't finished that movie. Maybe I have, and I've fallen asleep each time that I've tried to watch it. I haven't really cared for the last two entries for Jurassic World. But you know, I think we like that exhilaration of wild dinosaurs and having to survive amongst them or escape them, sort of thing. And I think I feel like this trailer's had a lot of positive buzz around it because it injects that fear again, you know, new creatures that absolutely look terrifying, and in a situation of humans having to survive in the place that they know they shouldn't be, you know. And I think the music went really well. The special effects, I think, went really well. And you got two really great cast members, and Scarlett Johansson, who looks like she could be a scream queen in and of herself if she wanted to. Like, she feels like she belongs in this movie. And Mahershala Ali, which my man's gonna die in this movie. I'm sorry to tell y'all, but oh man, I hope not. But you know, it's just something I think is gonna happen. I don't think anybody in this movie is safe. And you know, I don't know if people are aware that the original writer is back in David Cope, but I do think that this was a really great trailer to get people excited for this, and I think audiences will certainly come out for it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Don't know if I agree if Mahershala Ali is going to die, only because it seems like it's going to be a very small cast, and usually amongst a very small cast that, you know, you'll have one death, and if there is going to be only like one or two deaths, I doubt they're going to do it with the only black man in the movie, because I feel like we've finally moved past that point in Hollywood. At least I hope.
Did you find the Box Office Mojo for Jurassic?
Oh
World
yeah,
Dominion?
it was just over $1 billion.
Right,
Specifically, yeah, $1,978,000.
So yeah, people, I mean, regardless of what the quality of the film tends to be, it feels like Jurassic Park, yes, please. People love these movies, man.
Indeed.
Sam says, I would like to see Jurassic World spin-off or TV series. You know, I think a TV series would be fascinating. And I only say that because with streaming services now only giving us like 6 to 8 episodes, I think you can get away with like good special effects for dinosaurs in a live action television series, especially if we had to wait like 2 or 3 years for a season. So I don't know. I would be open to a Jurassic World TV series, but I have a feeling they might have another trilogy of films in them before we do. Like, I don't know, Jurassic World anything I feel like is maybe more appropriate for the big screen, but maybe there's a world where a TV series exists. I don't know.
I think so, especially with dinosaurs now existing like all over the earth. It's like I feel like you can make a good series out of that. And what else? Because like there is an animated show currently on Netflix that I think is meant to be canon because they use characters from Jurassic World. And from what I've heard, people really like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten a lot of seasons, so it must be doing something pretty well. But yeah, guys, let us know if you've checked out the animated Jurassic World series. And with that, Stuart, from one trailer to the next, my guy, the big one that a lot of us, I think, we're looking forward to, and that is, in fact, the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four. We got ourselves our very first look this week. They have been teasing it all week. We got ourselves brand new posters for it also, along with, I think, they dropped this other one here too. This looks very Alex Ross inspired. If you know your comic book artists and painters, this one looks very Alex Ross inspired. I do wonder if he's the one that actually created this poster himself. A lot of people were saying, oh, this is AI, this is AI. Marvel Studios has pushed back and said it's not. But I do wonder if Alex Ross did this one himself, or if it is AI. I have no idea.
I think there is a lot of Photoshop in there. I don't think it's AI, but I think they used an AI tool because specifically there, if you look at the hand holding one of the flags, you will notice that like one of the hands, the one on the far left. The
big four, on the
the biggest one. Yeah, it has 3 fingers. And then there was also a thing how one person kind of appears twice in the photo. So I think what it is that it's just a Photoshop where the person used an AI tool to like clean up a couple of things. That's my guess.
You might be right. But we did get ourselves our very first look trailer here, Stuart. And the internet was ablaze all day with this big reveal. I don't know what they're going to show on the Super Bowl today. If we get a 30-second spot, if we do get a 30-second spot, I hope there's maybe 1 or 2 more brand new images in here. Stuart, I'm sure you've already seen the trailer for yourself, but for those of you who missed it, or if you want to watch it again, let's dive into, you know what? Hold on. Before I do that, let me pull it up because I didn't have this one ready. Shame on you, Adam. Here, let me get this trailer ready to go. Clocking in at just a minute and 30-something seconds here. But let's go ahead and pull this one up, shall we? And let's experience Fantastic Four together.
Welcome to the Baxter Building.
We make a point to do family dinner every week. Sunday at 7 on the dot, no matter what. We're all here.
Herbie, how's that sauce coming? Yeah, I'll be the judge of that. Okay. Is this guy good or what? I want to add a couple cloves of garlic. Not because it's not delicious. I just want to add a little bit of zip. Okay?
T-5. Before we went up the first time, you couldn't turn invisible. Ben wasn't a rock. The best pilot in the world right here.
Yeah. Best looking, he means.
And Johnny never caught fire.
Ben has always been a rock. Johnny is Johnny.
Hi.
And I am right here. Whatever life throws at us, we'll face it together. As a family.
Fredo's just like, did somebody say family?
Oh man. So yeah, we got our very first look. We get the opportunity to see Vanessa Kirby as Invisible Woman in here. We even got to see Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, even a little bit of him as Human Torch, Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, and the person that really stole the show here, Ben Grimm, the Thing. Again, our very first look at, I can never remember the actor's name that plays him, unfortunately. But yeah, some really great sort of first looks. Stuart, I posted my review on the trailer earlier this week on our Facebook page. If you haven't checked it out, it is available. But Stuart, I definitely want to pick your brain, man. First thoughts on this one.
Man, like, so just aesthetic wise, I absolutely love everything I'm looking at. In terms of the costumes, I like how classic they feel. I like that they're not kind of the perfect form-fitting outfits that we're used to seeing in the MCU. They feel more like costumes that you would actually see people wearing in real life, because they're kind of loose on some of them, I noticed. So I really love the costumes. I love the things designed too. I think that he actually, they finally got him like almost like, perfectly right. There was clearly an actual costume there, and you definitely can see that. Obviously, I think they enhanced it with CG and post-production, but with what we got so far, I really like the look of the thing. The voice, it's funny. It's not that I dislike the fact that his voice is the way that it is. It's just not what I expected, only because like in the previous adaptations of the thing that I've seen, it's always had like kind of a gravelly voice, like in both like I believe in one of the Fantastic Four cartoons, it was like that. And then of course in both live action movies that we got before, that's what his voice has been like. So I just kind of assumed that was going to be the case in this movie. It wasn't. It took me off guard at first. Part of me kind of wants them to fix that, but I think that's just more of a because I'm familiar with the gravelly voice when it comes to the thing. I won't really be mad if they don't. It's just it just may take me a minute to get used to when I watch the movie itself. I loved seeing Galactus, like that shot we got at him kind of like hovering over New York. I absolutely loved that. And yeah, like we didn't get much of New York, but I am looking forward to seeing how much of New York they're able to make look like the 60s and what this overall world looks like. Because we know it's the 60s, we know it's a futuristic looking 60s. So I kind of wish we had a little bit more, other than Herbie, which was pretty funny to see the robot in the movie trailer as well, who fun fact is one of those characters who was originally made for the cartoon before ever coming to the comic books. So that's kind of fun that they're bringing him into live action. Yeah, I think that covers it. Oh yeah, and then obviously, the family aspect. I love how they're remembering that really important part of the Fantastic Four. And I'm curious though, because like it looks like you have the documentary crew as Mr. Fantastic is given the tour, and he's like saying, "Oh yes, we're a loving family. We have dinner every Sunday because we love each other." I can't wait to get that kind of like, and then the opposite happens where it cuts to them having dinner together and they're all fighting together.
Yeah, man. There's a lot that I really enjoyed out of this trailer too. I was a really big fan of it for sure. I'm glad you brought up the family aspect, like that. There is something really comforting for me. Just get an opportunity to see Reed and Sue just talking amongst themselves in regards to like their worries and some of their concerns, and then having somebody like Sue be the I don't want to say the level-headed one, but the one that kind of brings everything back to earth and together again, right? Like, clearly Reed has a lot on his mind in regards to, his friends, what happened with Ben, along with what happened with her sort of thing. And for her to be able to reassure him of the sense of, I love the line of, Ben's always been a rock, like regardless of what he looks like now, like just personality wise, and Johnny's just going to be Johnny, right? Like, it's just that reassuring, that wife reassurance that Reed has. Like, Reed, you got yourself a good woman there, man. And for her to wrap it around and bring it back to the concept of, at the end of the day, their family. That's really what the Fantastic Four is. And I'm glad that they haven't sort of lost sight of that. And I think there is something really wholesome too about that mindset taking place in the 60s, because I felt like that was very much a 60s thing, even when you look back to like 60s sitcoms and stuff, the concept of family, or maybe even nuclear families, or whatever the case may be, was always kind of at the forefront. And I think that's really what makes Fantastic Four really, really great in that regard. So I think Vanessa Kirby really stood out to me in here. I love her power set. Visually, I think it looks pretty good on screen. But you know what, Stuart, I will agree with you. I think for me, when it comes to the thing, I think this is visually one of the best ones that we've seen. I think we had a photo too of a practical suit on set. Like, this is clearly going to be a mixture of practical and CGI. with the practical and then clearly having some CGI over it. I am even kind of curious if there's like some animatronics kind of going on in the face in regards to just the movement and stuff, working those eyebrows that are infamous for the thing. I'm trying to see if I have, oh, here it is. This was one of the, I think we showcased this image a long time ago of a set piece here. So there definitely is some practical effects here when it comes to the thing. But I will say this. I think people have really unfairly judged the thing in regards to his design. I see a lot of people on social media really not big fans of his design, which kind of blows my mind. People saying, oh, this is the moment when comic book accuracy doesn't matter or doesn't work, sort of thing. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, because when I go back to seeing all the other iterations of the thing compared to this one, there's just no competition for me. I hear people saying he looks a little bit like ET. I'll give you the ET for sure. But one of the things that I love about Ben Grimm is the eyebrow factor and his blue eyes. If there is one thing that I am concerned about, or I'm hoping that they show more of, is his eyes. I have a feeling that a lot of his expression and a lot of how he's feeling is going to come through his eyes, and they just look really small on screen, like you can barely kind of see them unless you're close up. So I do hope visually that we get maybe close up shots or some bigger enhancements on his eyes, because I do think that Ebon, who plays the thing, is probably going to have to be really expressive through his eyes when it comes to this film. I think if there is a fair judgment, Stuart, I will agree with you. I think maybe his voice. I am surprised by his voice. I can hear a little bit of the New York style in his voice, but it's not as New York as I personally would have liked to hear. And I can definitely understand the gravelness in his voice, or that grittiness that people kind of want to hear. I was a big fan of Michael Chiklis in the 2005, and when I think of the thing, that's the voice that I hear the most. So I am curious to see how Ebon is going to bring that out and out of that character. And again, this is just a trailer, so I will be curious to hear how he speaks in other circumstances and other situations that he's put himself into, because I do think the 2005 thing is much different than this Fantastic Four thing that we're getting here. They feel like they're in two completely different places in their life, where the 2005 one felt like this was all new to him, whereas this thing feels like he's lived this life, right? Like clearly he's going to have his struggles and there's things that he still lingers and thinks upon, like the idea of his facial features and maybe not being as handsome as he used to be. But it feels like he's a little bit more comfortable with who he is as this creature than the 2005 one was. So maybe there is a level of humanity that he's been able to grasp a hold of again, to why he might sound the way that he certainly does. So I will agree. I think if there's anything that does throw me off, it's maybe the voice choice. But other than that, I mean, it looks like they just ripped them out of the comic book, and I think it's one of the best designs that we've personally seen from the thing. And I don't want to judge it too harshly based off of just some of the stuff that we've seen so far from the official trailer. I definitely want to give this opportunity more to breathe. But from a trailer perspective, yeah, this is everything I could have asked more. Retro, futuristic, Jetsons like 1960s. Love the Fantastic Car look also in here. The musical score is everything for me by Michael Giacchino. Yeah, this one looks special. I am kind of curious if Galactus changes in size. I do wonder if he's got that ability to like come from outer space as this big, otherworldly creature, as his shadow creeps over that of the city, and then maybe he has this ability to shrink himself in size a little bit more. Do you think that's a possibility? Maybe not like Reed Richards size, but like still bigger than life, to fit and stand on a planet to address people instead of just being this big head in the atmosphere.
Yeah, if I were a betting man, I would say that that's exactly what they're going to do in the movie. Like, he can go from being like cosmic, in terms of scale, to being, just big by human standards.
Yeah, that might be what we get here. But yeah, guys, look, I think this is a big win. I'm gonna be honest with you, Stuart. July of this year is looking to be stacked. Stacked. We've got Jurassic World Rebirth that drops first, if I'm not mistaken. Find out the release date for Rebirth for me, if you can.
Yeah.
And then we've got Superman, if I'm not mistaken, which drops July 11th. And then I think Fantastic Four is like the 22nd release date, July 25th. So coming at the tail end. When does Jurassic World Rebirth drop?
July 2nd. So same month.
July 2nd. So you got about a week and a half for Rebirth to be out. And then you've got Superman on the 11th. And then 2 weeks. And then you've got Fantastic Four July 25th. As fans, movie-going fans, Stuart, we're going to be eating pretty damn good, my guy.
Definitely. It is going to be a super Jurassic fantastic month.
God, I'm surprised you were able to fit that all in. I do want to ask you a question. We took a wager for Moana 4 and Wicked box office wise.
That's right. And I lost.
No, I don't think you did. I think Moana, you picked Moana, didn't you? Moana 2?
Wait, between what was going to do better between Moana 2 and Wicked, right?
Yeah, box office wise.
Yeah, I said Moana, so I lost.
No, I think Moana has more at the box office.
No, wait, what? No.
Moana 2?
Did it?
Heck yeah. So Wicked box office had only $722 million, which is impressive, but Moana clearly made over $1 billion.
It grew. Okay, yeah, it passed $1 billion. Dang. Okay, I've actually never been more sad to be wrong. To be correct, I actually kind of wish I got that wrong.
But Wicked still made a pretty good buck for a musical off of Broadway, and a highly acclaimed film and Broadway show, I might add, coming in at $722 million. So definitely not slouching there. So you definitely won on our bet there, our wager. With Moana 2 making more money. Let's do this again.
All right.
Fantastic Four, Superman, or Jurassic World.
I got to back my man, Superman.
Oh, yeah? You going Superman?
I got to go with Superman.
This is tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tough one. How much do you think?
Pick?
How much? No, I don't know if you saw. I was still debating this all day yesterday. I really have no idea. I mean, Jurassic World movies tend to still make a lot of money, regardless. I mean, the last one literally made $1 billion. I don't know if the quality of that movie will make Jurassic World Rebirth suffer at all. Superman. You know what? I think. How much do you expect Superman to make? Do you have a range? You think it's going to break $1 billion? I think one of these movies breaks $1 billion.
I think it's going to get. I don't think it's going to break $1 billion, but I think it's at least going to get $800,000. That's my bet. $800,000 for Superman, and I think. I don't think Jurassic World is going to break $1 billion, only because it's a completely new cast, and so I don't think as many people are going to go see it. So I would, and then Fantastic Four, I also don't think is going to break $1 billion. I think it's going to do really good. I just don't think it's going to hit the $1 million mark.
Let me see. I'm man. If I had to wager, I might say Fantastic Four. I think Fantastic Four will make more money. And I only say this in the sense that I think because it comes out later, I have a feeling it's going to have more IMAX screens for longer periods of time. And I think the IMAX amount alone will help it for the longer period of time. Because there's a part of me that thinks Superman will have IMAX for like 2 weeks, and then Fantastic Four will take over all those screening times. And I think with the cast alone, I have a feeling if the movie is good, I have a feeling that Fantastic Four will make more money than Superman.
Oh, okay.
So I think out of those 3 films, give me Fantastic Four to make the most. I can't believe there's a part of me that's like, I'm kind of weary to even say that it would make $1 billion, just because it's like the last failed attempts of Fantastic Four. Could this be the one with Marvel Studios to certainly get it right?
After all this time.
After all this time to be a $1 billion film, that sounds crazy. Like, watch. I have a feeling I'm going to say Fantastic Four makes $1 billion, but Stuart, do not be surprised if we are both wrong here. And Jurassic World
World ends up being the one that wins.
Yeah. Do not, just because in the sense of it just being, it's not a comic book movie. It's just like almost like every quadrant sort of film. You know what I mean? That might just have really long legs that we just don't even expect. So it would not surprise me if Jurassic World Rebirth ends up being the dark horse here. But I'm going to say Fantastic Four just because of it coming out later and probably having the opportunity to have the IMAX screens a little bit longer.
All right.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Fantastic Four versus Superman. Let us know your guys' thought on what's going to win.
Yeah, I want to know what your predictions are for the month of July. Who comes out the winner at the end of that box office? All right, Stuart, with that out of the way, let's move on to our next topic here as one of the more anticipated series coming later on this year is in fact going to be The Last of Us Season 2. After a highly acclaimed first season, the video game adapted television series is in fact going to be back. Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin set to go ahead and return as the creators and showrunner for this particular series. And there's no stopping them, Stuart. They are going all in on this one. Oh, you know what? I think I skipped over an article, but that's okay. I'm calling an audible here. We're going to dive into The Last of Us stuff real quick, and then we'll come back to the next one. But The Last of Us is in the news as they're talking about how they're going to be tackling season 2 kind of going forward. The idea of maybe even expanding this show into 3 seasons, considering the fact that there's literally only 2 games for The Last of Us. Where do you certainly go from here? And so I thought this was a pretty interesting read and a pretty insightful one too, Stuart, I thought, in regards to how they're tackling this season in general. And I think it's kind of eye-opening also. But let's go ahead and dive into this one. This comes to us from Entertainment Weekly for The Last of Us. It says The Last of Us packs quite a wallop. Creators set the stage for high-calorie, dense episodes. So if you're all about the idea of getting more bang for your buck in regards to storytelling versus the time that they usually give us for some streaming episodes, I think The Last of Us did a pretty good job with that in the first season, Stuart. It says he remembers his showrunner partner Craig Mazin popping over the Naughty Dog headquarters to brainstorm not only season 1 but season 2 of the HBO series, while Druckmann's team of people worked diligently to meet their deadlines on the video game part 2. He says, we talked about game 2, and in fact there's a lot of changes, sometimes small adjustments, sometimes bigger, that we're making in anticipation of adapting game 2. He tells Entertainment Weekly. So even before game 2 was out, we were in deep conversation about where the characters are going and ultimately what we're trying thematically to say with this whole story. I didn't know that. There's a part of me that was always under the impression that the game came out first, and then after the game came out, that's when they started kind of getting together to kind of formulate this. But this was already kind of on their mind before the second game even came out. I don't even remember when the Last of Us series was announced, but I swore I thought this was announced after the part 2 was dropped, but clearly I'm wrong. But in addition to these brainstorms, Drunkman remembers a particular fraught time in 2020. Not only was his team working through the pandemic, which forced a delay in the game's release, there were leaks that spoiled massive plot points of the story. Do you remember that, Stuart? He says toxic reactions and even death threats against the creators and the actors followed.
I do remember that a lot for The Last of Us 2, because a lot of, basically just neckbeard people on the internet that, God, it is going to sound super vulgar, but it's kind of accurate, just when you hear the way they complain about it. It's basically just people mad that the new character that they brought into The Last of Us 2 wasn't sexy enough to jerk off to. That's what it comes down to. Because they don't go for a sex appeal with her. She's just a survivor in a zombie apocalypse. So, oh my God, big shock, she has muscles. Like, oh God, muscles on a woman. And that's how I think a lot of people who gave like that kind of negative review to Last of Us 2, I think that's who they're referring to. It's weird. There were some weird people that didn't like the game for really, really dumb reasons.
He also says the response wasn't so much to the story choices themselves, that it was that they were received out of context, prompting the gamer community to make their own assumptions and judgments. Some of the stuff were borderline traumatic, Drunkman admits, reflected on the responses nearly 5 years later as he and Mason are about to present the game's story to a new kind of audience. It happened in the beginning of COVID, so there were a lot of very negative things all happening at once. You can't help but think about it now. It's one of those stories that will forever be stuck with me, but our brand is that we pander to no one. We do what's best for the story, and whatever happens, happens. There's a very particular story we wanted to tell, and we stuck to our guns. That strategy continues to pay off. The Last of Us Part 2 became a sensation, selling more than 4 million units over its release weekend, along with before going on to win award after award at the Oscars of the gaming industry, the Video Game Awards. Tens of millions of people liked it week after week after week, and that's a number. Oh, he says, hold on, I skipped the part. And now, as Mason and Drunken prepare for the premiere of the show's 7-episode second season, which begins their part 2 adaptation, they do so from atop a pedestal of their own making. Especially after getting recognition at the Emmys. Tens of millions of people liked it week after week after week, and that's a number that's hard to get our minds around. We are accountable to them, and we think our job is to continue to do what we do, which is to challenge people and to delight them, surprise them, and make them feel and provoke them, provoke thought within them. We don't react to I think this is so important. We don't react to the fear of the audience, meaning our fear of how they might react to it. We keep asking, what's the best choice for this story, for these characters? And that's the choice we make. We say this all the time in here, and I don't know if people fully understand this. If there is a story out there that you want to tell, you have got to tell it. And it's unfortunate that there's just so many production studios that do like that, literally listen to a particular part of the fan base, or listen to a toxic side of the fan base, or are so reactionary to what people tell them all the time. I think that is just such a big and massive mistake, to sort of just live in fear and to cancel things prematurely without giving them the opportunity to breathe, to change things up because you're worried about how people or an audience are going to respond to things. Like, to me, that is just not that. I don't know how you can literally be a storyteller or a creative person when people dictate what it is that you make, because then it's not your voice anymore. That's not your creation. And I think, look, hit or miss, I think the one person and the one thing that you only have to be true to is to yourself, as a creative. And I think the fact that Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin understand that, and have stuck to their guns, is what makes them, has made them as successful as it is. Having no fear of what people are saying, but understanding the idea of pushing those boundaries and forcing people to, critically think and to feel things for themselves, I think is what people continue to come back to each and every time. And the fact that he says we don't react to the fear of the audience, meaning our fear of how they might react to it. We keep asking, what's the best choice for the story, for these characters? And that's the choice we make. Story, story, story is the only thing that matters. And I'm glad that he says this, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think one of my biggest worries with how successful Last of Us Season 1 was, I'm trying to think of how to word this without spoiling anything, but there's something that happens in Season 2 that essentially I was worried that they were going to be too afraid to do because of the success of Season 1. But looking at the trailers, they're definitely doing it. I am like 99% confident to say it's happening, which is good because I think it's a very important moment for the story to move forward. And it's something that, like, if it didn't happen, I feel like it would have just been a big betrayal, not only on, Season 1, but I mean on the first Last of Us video game. So hearing them say that, the story is what's important, I think is exactly what I need to hear going into this, to know that yes, they are not going to be afraid to back down and do stuff from The Last of Us 2 that fans weren't afraid of. And in this particular case, I'm not talking about the same fans I brought up before. I'm talking about fans who were just like, they misunderstand heartbreak for bad writing. Let's put it that way. Because it gets heartbreaking. So I look forward to seeing how it all plays out in Season 2. And I'm glad it doesn't seem like that, just from that interview, it doesn't sound like they're shying away from it. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it then goes on to say, audiences will no doubt have intense reactions to the events of Season 2, but it's difficult for the pair to actually talk about what that story entails. Nearly everything could be considered a spoiler. For context, when Naughty Dog released trailers to promote Part 2 video game, the studio edited out characters from certain scenes to preserve the surprises. They're not quite doing that this time around, but every scene that appears in the teaser for Season 2 was surgically carved out. And a lot of it has to do with a new character named Abby. Mm-hmm. Season 2 picks up 5 years after the event of Season 1, which chronicled Joel and Ellie's trek across the post-apocalyptic pandemic-scarred America. They were settled in the Jackson, Wyoming commune run by Joel's sister-in-law, Maria, who now has a child with his brother Tommy. As seen in the exclusive photos from the series, Ellie is for once enjoying a normal life as a teenager. She even has a crush on a girl named Dina, played by Isabella Mercade, who happens to be the ex of her close friend Jesse. However, there remains tension between her and Joel, who's still grappling with the actions he took to save Ellie's life on that cold Firefly hospital bed in Season 1 finale. It's during this time of relative peace when Abby arrives. Again, details on Abby are intentionally left vague, but she's described by HBO pressers as a skilled soldier whose black and white view of the world is challenged as she seeks vengeance for those she loved. One big clue came in the previous trailer, which features a particular close-up of Firefly pendant dangling around her neck. There's very little that gets into our show because of an accident, Akoy Drunkman comments on that moment. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, man, I definitely just feel like yeah, it looks like I don't want to get too much into it, but they do have some additional photos that they wind up dropping here. So yeah, it definitely does look like Stuart. They're not holding anything back in here. I was a really big fan of the first one. Let me see if they give us a release date. It says season 2 is indeed just the beginning. Mazin and Drunkman previously revealed their plans to adapt the events of Part 2 across multiple seasons. While HBO has not officially greenlit a third outing just yet, conversations have been had. I think it's pretty likely that our story will extend past a season 3. How far past, I can't say. And that's not to say that there are not other stories that could be told, but this story is one that Neil and I are telling. We have a plan, Drunkman adds. We know what we need to do going forward, but we couldn't tell you right now exactly how many episodes or how many seasons it would be or it would take to get there. Their first exercise in mapping out the show's trajectory entailed splitting the entire narrative arc of Part 2 into chunks to figure out which stories could be told or expanded upon. Once they pinpointed where cap season 2, and then in TV's golden age of an 8-episode season that now falls on 7 episodes, then began the excruciating detailing work of filling in those specific. Each episode is like a meal. You have a light dinner, or you can go to a 12-course French restaurant. We have 7 episodes. They are high-calorie and dense episodes. If you consider action and drama and scope to be the things that create an epic nature, each one of these episodes packs quite a wallop. You will not be bored. So yeah, man, that excites me. I love the notion of that, honestly. But yeah, what do you think about that, Stu?
Everything, yes, and yes. Okay, I'm sorry. It's like it's hard for me to share too many of my thoughts because, like, I don't want to spoil anything again because you definitely want to go into this season knowing nothing. Basically, I think, at least I think, because I've played the second game and playing it knowing nothing. It just made every twist and turn like that much more shocking to me. And since you're watching this for the first time as a TV show, I definitely don't want to take that from you. So all I'm going to say is, yes, you will be on the edge of your seat. Please make sure you also bring some tissues. You're definitely going to need those and my assumption is you're going to need them by the end of the first episode because it's going to get intense right off the bat. Yeah, so I cannot wait. Looking how they adapted season 1, they found that perfect balance of giving us exactly like everything that worked so well about the video game story-wise, changing only what wouldn't have worked, in an adapting a video game straight to a TV show, because it doesn't work as well as people like to pretend it would. So I think they changed only what they needed to, and it made season 1 kind of a perfect adaptation. And I really hope they keep that up with season 2. Season 2 is definitely going to be, it's not going to be everyone's favorite. I think there are going to be people who go out of this not because it's not going to be well written, but just because of, like, again, the heartbreaks. I feel like there's going to be some people that don't like this season as much as season 1.
I can kind of see that. I don't want to say they look. I haven't played any of these Last of Us games, so I don't necessarily know what that would look like in the sense of, would they lose viewers in a season 3 after a season 2 because of the heartbreak that they might experience, but willing to pick themselves back up and come back for a season 3. But I will say it feels like again, I don't know what happens in part 2, but there is for some reason when I think of a moment like that, and this is going to age me, I think of the show Lost. And Lost season 2 is one of my favorite seasons of television out there, up there with like Arrow season 2 also. Lost season 2 was an incredible show for me. But if you remember Lost season 2, we got information about the Vault. You got to learn about was it DARPA, the DARPA initiative, the Dharma initiative. But there's a turn in season 2 that was shocking, that I don't think people saw coming. And it was one that absolutely floored me. And I don't necessarily know if people were okay with the turn that happened for one of the characters, but it does make me wonder, like, if people will have sort of that reaction to, or that sort of pushback and shock and awe to a character or a moment on the show, to where I don't know if season 3 of Lost suffered because of it or not, but I do remember it being pretty impactful, and people being really vocal about what happened in that season. But so I will be interested to kind of see from an emotional standpoint what this is like. And I kind of like the idea of this story having been told from a video game standpoint, and me being completely oblivious to everything that has happened and kind of learning about it sort of along the way. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, man. I love the mindset that they have. I think that's just the only way that, as a creator, you can create, as if you're true to yourself, and be damned what the audience thinks, even if it means hurting some people's feelings at the end of the day. And it feels like season 2 is definitely going to hit some people in the feels for the good or wrong reasons. But I am interested to see how people react to things. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I really am. It's definitely going to have to do a rewatch for me. I don't know when is part 2 dropped. Is there a release date yet for it?
Oh, let me check that right now.
Because I might need to do a rewatch of it before it drops. I am in the middle of a Daredevil rewatch before Born Again.
June 19th is when. Oh wait, no, sorry, that was for Last of Us 2, not season 2, the video game. For some reason, I just put in Last of Us 2 and assumed it would know what I was talking about.
I don't know if there is a release date yet. Maybe I'm tripping.
That's weird. I can't find a release date. I would have assumed it had one.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just like a coming 2025.
Yeah, I cannot find it on. Oh, here we go. Wait, nope, that's not it.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't have one.
If anyone knows when it's coming out, let us know in the comments.
Oh, it says April 2025.
Oh, April. Okay, cool.
Oh, March, April of 2020. I don't know if that's confirmed yet, though. So yeah, it might be here in a couple of months, but yeah, I don't see an actual release date. So we'll see. Time for a rewatch, though. Might be time for a rewatch. Yeah. Do you think we'll ever get Last of Us Part 3?
Part 3 video game? Like, I kind of hope so. I feel like there's enough room for at least one more, I think, with how they left things off at the end of the second one. And it's kind of interesting to know that even if we don't get a Last of Us 3, we might get a Last of Us Season 3. So I'm definitely keeping my fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, I don't know how long it takes to develop video games and stuff, but there is a part of me that thinks, like, same thing with Game of Thrones. I think once you start work on a television series, I just think it takes over your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just don't know if you have time to then develop another story video game wise. Because to me, it would be like you would finish and wrap up your season 2, and then what? Then you would develop a whole entire game. And then what? Then you would have another season of The Last of Us like 3-4 years down the line to kind of come out. Like, it just feels to me like if you've committed to doing a live action, then I think like you're committed to wrapping up the story fully, and just never returning to the video game after that. It feels like a Game of Thrones situation where it's like George R.R. Martin says he wants to finish his novel, but I don't think he's ever going to finish his novel. And Game of Thrones had to wrap up the way that they wanted to wrap up before he even got the chance to kind of finish things. So I don't know. There's just a part of me that thinks if Neil Druckmann has committed himself to spending all this time to make this series work, I think once this series comes to an end, I think that's I don't see a part 3, because then it's going to be like, because then people are going to want a live action part 3 unless it's a completely different crew of people. Just a completely different story that takes place in this world, then maybe. But I don't know.
Yeah, let me put it this way. Even if we end up not getting a Last of Us 2, I'll still watch Last of Us Season 3. Or sorry, even if we don't get a Last of Us season, or even if we don't get a Last of Us 3 video game, I still want a Season 3 of the show.
Yeah, it looks like they may extend past that, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to season 2 of The Last of Us. And with that out of the way, Stu, let's move into our next topic here. We are going to get back into our MCU bag here a little bit. And this one's going to come in the form of casting announcements, as we got some rumors, Stuart, that are beginning to swirl as we inch closer to the mutant saga, I guess you can say, of the MCU. We're getting closer to movies like Avengers Doomsday, movies like Secret Wars, where it looks like we're definitely going to be getting some level of mutant mutant appearances in here. Kevin Feige has talked openly about the idea that we should start seeing more mutants sooner than a lot of us kind of expected. And so I'm very much under the impression that these untitled Marvel films that they have set for 2027 may in fact be some X-Men films. So as we get into these upcoming Avenger movies, casting has in fact begun, or at least reports are saying that they are in fact beginning. As look, if you want a movie to drop in 2027, Stuart, casting and filming probably needs to start beginning sometime this year. So we could be getting a lot closer than we certainly expect. So let's go ahead and dive into this real quick if we can. This coming to us from Comic Book Movie, or I should say comicbook.com. X-Men Marvel Studios reportedly casting for the MCU movie. Get excited, fans, as it seems as though we're going to be getting some X-Men casting announcements here soon. It says enrollment is underway at Xavier's School of Gifted Youngsters. Marvel Studios' X-Men movie is reportedly casting lead roles. And the long-awaiting reboot bringing the mutant team into the MCU could begin filming in 2026 for a post-Avengers Secret War release in late 2027. According to a report from Jeff Snyder in his newsletter, Marvel is eyeing multiple rising stars for major roles in the first X-Men movie. It says the report states that, excuse me, that prospective first class of X-Men include Harris Dickinson from the Iron Claw and Baby Girl as the optic blasting Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, along with Sadie Sink from Stranger Things and The Whale as the telepath Jean Grey, and Julia Butler's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and the Gray Man as phasing mutant Kitty Pryde Shadowcat. Snyder, noting that no deals have been signed yet, says that the casting depends on several X factors like pay, scheduling, and how large a commitment Marvel is seeking from each of these young actors. Dickinson is the reported front runner to portray John Lennon in the Beatles biopic, which is slated for 2027. There's no creator yet. It says in May 2024, it was reported that Marvel tapped Hunger Games Ballad of the Songbird screenwriter Michael Leslie to pen the X-Men reboot, but the studio has yet to announce a director. An announcement that could come as soon as CinemaCon this spring or San Diego Comic-Con in July. No release date yet, but Disney does earmark dates for 4 untitled movies in July 2023 of 2027, and then again February 18th of 28, May 8th of 28, and November 8th of 28. I think that July 23, 2027 is definitely a X-Men movie. Snyder says it's likely X-Men is the July 2027 film. So there's also even reports saying that, and I don't know how true this is. Again, this is just a report, but I heard a rumor that maybe even the Russo brothers may be tackling that film, which would be kind of bananas to me, if you ask me. To go from Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret War, and then to direct an X-Men, I don't know. That sounds a little ballsy to me, but we'll see. But again, these are right now the supposed prospective first class of X-Men that they're looking at right now. Harris Dickinson as Scott Summers, Sadie Sink as the telepath Jean Grey, and Julia Butler's possibly as Kitty Pryde, aka Shadowcat. Look, man, I'm gonna say, look, I am a big Sadie Sink fan. I don't know how old is Sadie Sink? I want to see how tall she is too, real quick. Sadie Sink height, she's 5'3", so she's kind of on the short side here. How tall? Sophie Turner was huge, if I remember. Sadie Sink is 22 years old. I've been a really big fan of Sadie Sink. I really love her in Stranger Things. She was also in the second Fear Street movie, which she really shined to me. I think she could probably be really great in just like a horror genre for sure too. I wouldn't mind her as Jean Grey. I would be kind of curious as to who else they might have on the short list, but I would not be mad at Sadie Sink at all. I'm not too familiar with Julia Butler, but she definitely feels like she could certainly be a Kitty Pryde just from looks alone. As far as the guy playing Scott Summers, or potentially Scott Summers, I'm sorry, my guy. I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need a little bit more. He looks like he's like a kid. I'm maybe it's just a bad photo of him, but he doesn't read potential leader to me at all. Looks wise, I'm really going off all these people's looks. I have no idea in regards to what their acting ability is. But this could potentially, again, this is just from Jeff Schneider, usually a pretty reliable source when it comes to what's going on in Hollywood behind the scenes. These might be some of the people that they're looking at. But first thoughts, Stu?
They're definitely going young with the cast. Like, you can tell this is definitely like the big next step in the MCU. At least that's what they're hoping for at the very least. Obviously the one that I know the most is of course the one from Stranger Things, and I really enjoy her in that show. But with the other two, I'm not super familiar with. Yeah, I definitely like the fact that we're getting a cast to begin with, though. So I can't wait to see how they do if this ends up being more than just a rumor. It's hard for me to picture either of these three in the roles that they're currently in, but that's mostly because I always just imagine older when it comes to those particular X-Men. But again, I get what Marvel's going for. They definitely they want long-term in terms of their next franchise. So it makes sense that they want to like cast them young, so that way they have the longevity going for them. Not disappointed. I wouldn't say this excites me, with who they got. The only thing that excites me about it really is the fact of knowing that it's happening. It definitely doesn't worry me in any way.
Yeah, I looked up Julia Butters, 15 years old. Ain't no way. Well,
Wait, then again, Kitty Pryde is supposed to be kind of
young.
like one of the younger.
Yeah,
X-Men.
she is.
Yeah,
you're right. So that does surprise me. Harris Dickinson is 28 years old. When I look at some of his other photos, I think of like the recent X-Men group. There was a storyline where they went back to the past and pulled the younger generation of X-Men team into the present day, because Cyclops went kind of crazy and they thought to themselves, well, maybe if we get the Cyclops of old to kind of come to the present, maybe he could talk some sense into himself. And so they went back to the past and they got the younger X-Men group and brought him into modern day. He kind of does look like the modern day or like the younger version of Cyclops, but yeah, I mean, we're talking 28 years old here. So, yeah, I mean, they definitely are going a little bit younger. So I don't want to say it surprises me, but I'm going to need them to look like some hair on their face a little bit or something, like look a little bit more ready as a team, but maybe they will as we go forward. I would agree with you. Like, I can see some of these characters in this role. I don't necessarily know if some of these actors in this role, I don't know if they're necessarily my first choices, but I do like Sadie Sink. She's really the only one that I can say that I'm familiar with in regards to their past work to give them a fair assessment and judgment. But yeah, I guess I'll have to see. If anything, Stuart, I would put my money on the idea that come San Diego Comic-Con, I think X-Men is going to be the big announcement that we get. I do think that if it happens in June or July of this year, I do think that they will announce the entire cast for the movie. Do you think that's I think CinemaCon is like in April. I think that might be a little bit too soon to make an announcement. I think similar to how Marvel stole the show in last year's San Diego Comic-Con with Robert Downey Jr. coming back, I think you steal the show again with introducing your lineup of X-Men characters. So I think that's why casting is probably going on right now, and it wouldn't surprise me if we don't see anything official until San Diego Comic-Con.
I'm predicting we won't even see anything until post, at the very least, post Doomsday. That's I feel like if they announce the X-Men now, that might take away hype from Avengers Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars. So I think they're going to wait a little bit on this. I think unless the information completely gets leaked again, like we have our full lineup leaked by our guy Jeff Snyder. But if not, my guess, yeah, okay. So let me rephrase this whole thing. If the information about the cast gets completely leaked before Avengers Doomsday, then I can see them announcing it. But if it doesn't, I kind of hope they wait until after Avengers Doomsday before announcing, just because, you know, we got 2 more Avengers movies coming out before we even get to the X-Men. So it's like, let's get a little hype going for that first before you start hyping people up for what's coming afterwards, you know?
That's fair enough for sure. Doomsday doesn't come out until May of 2026. So you're under assumption that maybe they would wait to that San Diego Comic-Con after that. The only reason why I would say maybe I totally get what you're saying in regards to like taking the steam away from Avengers Doomsday, but what if they are in Avengers Doomsday? Like,
ooh.
Like what if they are literally like the final shot of Doomsday leading into Secret Wars, where it's just like that Secret Wars almost turns into a quasi Avengers versus X-Men sort of thing. Like, what if they're about to have an incursion? Like, Doomsday ends with an incursion, and you get to see who the other team on the other Earth is, and it's these people standing in your way. So that would be my only thing, is that maybe they do pop up, and it's briefly, but maybe they do pop up in Doomsday, and it's all part of leading into the bigger Secret War sort of thing. I don't know, but I would assume filming would begin sometime in 2026, easy.
Yeah, I'm hoping that is the case.
but I totally understand in the idea of not wanting to take too much wind away from the marketing and sale of that of Avengers Doomsday, but maybe this will just help push it over the top. But I don't know, a lot of moving pieces. Things are clearly very secretive in Hollywood right now. So what's going on with this? If you believe the reporting that casting has begun and that these 3 are potentially, again, nothing has been signed, no contracts or anything like that. So none of this take this as a grain of salt as of right now. I'm sure they're probably doing more castings, but it does seem as though there are some things that are going on right now when it comes to the X-Men. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. How do you guys personally feel about these 3, if this tends to be who they want to have in this world, or do you have other people in mind, your own fan casting? Sam says rumors that Denzel Washington could be Magneto. That would be interesting. He's also rumored, though, to be in potentially Black Panther 3, if that comes to fruition. So I don't know how you would manage the 2. Maybe you still can in some way. Maybe Javier Bardem will play Mr. Sinister. I kind of dig that, honestly.
That would be awesome.
I kind of dig that fan casting for sure. But yeah, we'll see, man. I'm excited. Hopefully we get more concrete news as we go forward. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below, guys. Stuart, I know you had to leave early. Is it time for you now, or you got some more time, or what?
I got time for one more. And can it be the oh god, they're both actually really cool. But can we do the Buffy one?
Oh, okay. I for sure thought you were gonna say the other one, but okay, cool.
I love magic, don't get me wrong, but you know, Buffy's my childhood.
I was actually thinking to myself, maybe I should give this a rewatch. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer is back in the news. Sarah Michelle Gellar certainly set to return. I think they had announced this a while ago, but I don't know if it had gained any traction, or I feel like Sarah Michelle Gellar might have been kind of hesitant of even revisiting this character for a while. I think she even put out a statement recently after this news dropped online. I don't think I pulled her statement, but I do believe she did make a statement. But it seems as though we are inching ever so closely to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Say what you will about Joss Whedon and the horrible person that he eventually revealed himself to be over the years, but I love this movie growing up as a kid. It's one that I certainly watched over and over again. It has one of the best final death sequences that I can remember of one of the vampire perform, like pulling off one of the best, like if you had to perform yourself dying on screen, what would it look like? And I always envision the vampire death at the end of this. But funny, badass, great vampire killing flick, and not only to boot, but when it comes to a great movie, but a very lasting television series in that regards as well. As I don't even know how many seasons Buffy the Vampire Slayer went on to have, but absolutely incredible in regards to its run. But a reboot series is on its way, and not only is this on its way, but it's in the news this week because it has officially landed its pilot director, and that's none other than Chloe Zhao from the Eternals. This is reported to us from Deadline. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, starring Sarah Michelle Gellar, nears Hulu pilot order with Chloe Zhao directing. Let's go ahead and get into this article here. It says more than 2 decades after the Vampire Slayer ended its 7-season run, the beloved supernatural drama is eyeing a revival with a new chapter in the franchise. A follow-up series is nearing a pilot order from Hulu, with Sarah Michelle Gellar expected to star, reprising her signature role as Buffy Summers, sources say. Oscar winner Chloe Zhao, a self-professed lifelong Buffy fan, is set to direct the pilot. The reboot hails from the studio 20th Century Television and Disney sibling Searchlight TV, where Zhao has been under a first look deal. Beyond the pilot order, I hear the reboot is starting a writer's room soon, a sign that Hulu and the studios have high expectations for the project going to series. It is unclear yet whether whether other original Buffy character members would return. That is considered likely, though.
I really want to see David Boreanaz or oh god, James I forgot his name, but the guy that played Spike. I would love to see them return, but I'm wondering how they would explain the fact that they've aged, because vampires and Buffy aren't supposed to age. And you could buy it from early 2000s. David Boreanaz, he kind of aged a little bit like during the course of Angel, but between the series finale of Angel and what he looks like now it's like, okay, you've definitely aged a little more for a vampire.
I think they could always pull the we came into contact with sunlight or something, it badly injured us. It badly scarred us. And this is what we look like now. Like we barely escaped with our lives, sort of thing,
Yeah, they'll probably, their show literally ended, Angel literally ended with the apocalypse. So I'm sure probably that could be the explanation they go with.
Oh yeah. If the Hulu pilot goes to series, it would be the third in the franchise, following the mothership Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which aired on WB for 5 seasons before moving over to UPN for 2 more, and the spinoff Angel, which ran on WB for 5 seasons. Yeah, man, I tell you, back in the day, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel were like the talk of the town all the time on a weekly basis. I remember it in school for sure. But yeah, man, what are your thoughts on this overall, Stuart?
I am hyped as hell. So I've recently been watching Dexter Original Sin, which has Sarah Michelle Gellar in it, and she's been doing absolutely incredible on that show. Like I'm absolutely loving her character, and I'm wondering, like, you know, she's either got to die or be a villain because she's not in the original Dexter series. So they gotta write her off some way eventually, and I'm very curious how that's going to happen. But for now, I'm really enjoying her in it, and it's going to be great, you know, to see her come back, reprising the role that, you know, brought her a lot of fame to begin with in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've always loved her in the role of Buffy. I've always loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a show. It's been one of my favorites since I was a kid. And yeah, this show coming back with a really talented director behind it. Like, I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of Eternals, and I get it, you know, but that being said, though, I think that in terms of its directing, I don't think anyone can deny that Eternals is at the very least a very well directed film. Like, you cannot deny that it looks really, really good. And so if she's coming back to direct the pilot for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I'm really excited for what the show could potentially look like. You know, I hope, you know, while I do want to see, you know, Buffy, now that she's like a full grown adult, in like kind of more mature situations. In fact, I wouldn't mind them kind of going with a kind of Superman and Lois type thing on it, where she's trying to balance being a Slayer with also being like a mother as well, if that's what they want to do with it. You know, if they wanted to have kind of a route like that, that'd be cool. But at the very least, though, I just hope it's still, you know, we're able to have these mature stories, but we're still able to keep a little bit of that comedy. And of course, I hope she's able to keep those quirks that she had, you know, very much like Spider-Man, how Spider-Man always has to make jokes when he's in the middle of the fight. That's exactly what Buffy would do all the time too. And I hope she keeps that. I hope she keeps like the fun quirks. And then, you know, of all the characters I think really should come back, though, the main one that I want to see come back is Willow. You know, because I feel like their relationship was one of the most important things in the show, the friendship between Buffy and Willow throughout the entire series. So I really hope we get more Willow in the show, and Giles, of course, because I fucking love Giles. I forgot that actor's name, but he's such a great actor. Damn, sorry, I'm so excited. I'm thinking of like all these characters that I can't wait to come back. So yeah, Willow, Giles, of course. But yeah, everything I've been hearing about this reboot, Chloe as like the director of the pilot, and hearing that they're already coming up with the writer's room, I'm excited. I'm very optimistic this is going to get greenlit. You know, just don't mess it up. Don't mess it up.
Yeah, don't mess it up, man. That's cool, man. I am a big fan of Chloe Zhao as a director. Regardless, like, I would totally agree with you, regardless of how people felt from a Eternal standpoint. It is beautifully directed. I think it is a gorgeous looking film for sure. And I was a big fan of her directing work when it comes to the Eternal. So the idea that she's tackling the pilot of this to at least kick it off, I am curious as to how long the pilot for this is certainly going to be. If they are getting a writer's room together, I hope that Chloe Zhao in some way is connected to it. Hopefully they announce who some of the writers for the series will be once the writer's room is certainly together. But I do have big hopes for this. Again, I was more of a Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie fan than I was of a television series. So I do appreciate hearing your perspective on that. While I was very much aware of the television show and I watched episodes in and out sort of thing, it wasn't like it was on my weekly show of something that I would watch. I just knew how popular and how big the show was, along with Angel. It just never, for me, it was just never something that was on my radar to certainly watch. But I was a big fan of the character itself from the movies. I am surprised that I didn't get sucked into the rage that was the Buffy the Vampire Slayer like time period that it was so successful for. So I am glad that it's getting reworked here. I do think I like the idea of bringing back the classic characters and seeing who they are now. Like, I know some people get tired of, like, I don't know, maybe it works for some things, maybe it doesn't work for all things, but knowing that these are characters that we grew up with, took a hiatus from, and to know that canonically their worlds kind of like continued on without us watching it, and to kind of be thrusted back into their world to see who they've turned out to be, the new difficulties in their life now that they're older. It's just something really fascinating to me to be able to revisit these characters. And so the idea of having reboots that continue on the story of the people that we used to follow really works for me. So I do think that this is going to be a massive success also. So the fact, like you said, that they have the writer's room working shows that they have high expectations for sure. And Sarah coming back is is really a huge piece to this. She actually did go ahead and release a statement, which I found pretty interesting here. She says, look, so you might have heard some news this week, but I realize you haven't heard from me. She says, 3 years ago, I got a call from my dear friend and mentor, Gail Berman. She told me that she wanted me to sit down with Chloe Zhao to hear her take on a potential Buffy revival. I was blown away that Chloe even knew who I was. But as I've always done, I told Gail that I didn't see a way for the show to exist again. We'd always be aligned on that. But this time I heard something different in her voice. I eventually agreed to go, mainly just to meet Chloe. And our 20-minute coffee quickly turned into a 4-hour adventure. We laughed, we cried, but mostly we just talked about how much the show means to us. While I didn't agree to anything at that meeting, I did shock myself by agreeing to continue the conversation. These conversations did, in fact, continue over the next few years, and eventually we added the incredible Nora and Lily Zuckerman to our little tribe until ultimately one day we landed on an idea. I have always listened to the fans and heard your desire to revisit Buffy and her world, but it was not something I can do unless I was sure we would get it right. This has been a long process and it's not over yet. I promise you, we're only making this show if we know we can do it right. And I will tell you that we are on the path there. I feel so lucky to be on this journey with these 4 unbelievably talented women, all of whom love Buffy as much as I do and as much as you do. Thank you to all the fans who never stop asking for this. This will be for you. And I don't know. I even though I just hearing that, like, even though I never watched the show myself like that, I take great pride that Sarah Michelle Gellar has gatekept Buffy the Vampire Slayer the way that she has, you know, because anybody could have just remade it if they wanted to, but the fact that she stuck so hard to her core of the idea of like, one, the idea that she had a self-belief that there's no way that you can kind of continue the story, but eventually got her eyes opened over a course of like 3 to 4 years and is really only doing this for the fans and because she believes that they can do it right. For somebody that didn't believe that that could eventually happen to now be able to say these words and actually make it come to fruition, I think means something, and I think means something to the fans, and I think gives even more excitement and credence to the idea that this isn't just a cash grab, that they really have something important in the story that they really kind of want to tell here. And so to hear Sarah Michelle Gellar herself say that, I think is big words coming from her.
Definitely. I think that whenever you get like a actor who's hesitant on coming back for a role, but then, you know, they hear a certain pitch, and, you know, suddenly, like, you know, you get a complete 180 on their, you know, behavior towards it. You know, it's like, okay, this is a good sign. This means that, you know, the person who started it, the person who was, you know, passionate about it to begin with, sees goldenness, which means there probably is something there worth watching. You know, what you were talking about before, how you love coming back to kind of worlds after like so many years after it like kind of ended. I'm definitely there with you. And like, I kind of see where like some people get worried, because you have movies like, here's an example I can think of at the top of my head. So you get like movies like Live Free or Die Hard, which, you know, okay, fun action movie, but literally it could have been anyone. It did not have to be John McClane as the main character. Like, anyone could have fit that role in. And I think that's what people don't want when we come back to these worlds. If we want to see it, if we want to we want it to feel like a continuation, like we're seeing the same character. Like, what is he like after all these years? And I think Buffy is the perfect character to do that with. I think there's a huge story that you can tell, with a character like Buffy after so many years, and so many different routes, and I'm really excited to see which one they go, because the big thing too is that I don't think, the more I think about it, I don't think Buffy in the show ever decided what she wanted to do with her life, basically, because she's been too focused on trying to protect the world, her friends, and her sister. And so I don't think she ever really had time for herself in the show. So now that she like literally saved the world and not Smallville, Sunnydale. Yeah. Sunnydale is now completely like literally just a crater on California now, no longer a town. I'm curious. Now she's definitely had to have had some time to herself. What does she decide to do with her life since then? Is she still slaying vampires, or has she left that to the next generation? All these questions I'm excited to see get answered.
Yeah, man. Big things. If you're a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the story continues. So first step, pilot director Chloe Zhao has come on board, and a writer's room is going to be put together rather soon. So we'll keep you posted when that pilot is set to air and when filming begins. But definitely look forward to that, guys. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below.
All right. I should probably take off now, but yes, thanks for letting me talk about Buffy, because cannot wait for the reboot.
Yeah, no problem, Stuart. Appreciate having you, man. I'll see you next weekend. All right, buddy?
Sounds good. I'll see you all later.
Take care, man.
You too. Bye.
All right. And then last but not least, we have one more topic we're going to be diving into, and that is the world of Magic the Gathering. Now, while, look, personally, I've never been the biggest RPG fan in the sense of like tabletop games. Look, Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, especially when it comes to card-based stuff, is huge. It definitely has its huge fan base, to certainly say the least. We did get ourselves a successful, at least I thought a successful Dungeons and Dragons movie. Was it last year, 2 years ago, or something like that? I can't remember when it released. One that was really fun and rather enjoyable. And now that we have the new CEO at Hasbro, Chris Cox, in charge, he's been really doing his damnedest in regards to allowing things like Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering to really explode for Hasbro. And it seems as though a lot of his attention is now put towards that. And in this regards, when it comes to Magic the Gathering, it looks like we're set to go ahead and get ourselves a cinematic universe of sorts, as he winds up teaming up with a production studio to go ahead and certainly make this a reality. Let's go ahead and pull this up here. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Magic the Gathering film TV series in the works for Hasbro and Legendary. The goal is to kick things off with a movie before expanding to TV, a la the legendary Dune franchise. We know how well Dune is doing right now. We got the two Dune movies. We also have Sisterhood. Was that the name of it? The Dune television series on Max. And now they have Dune Messiah, the third film that's going to be filming with Denis Villeneuve. I keep butchering his name. Yeah, so if they're going to continue to follow the path of Dune, there might be big things here for Magic the Gathering. It says Hasbro Entertainment is conjuring up a universe based on the Magic the Gathering game. A toy company is teaming with Legendary Entertainment to develop a shared Magic the Gathering universe that will span film and TV. The first order of business is adapting the game as a movie. The company, Wizards of the Coast, launched Magic the Gathering in 1993 as the world's first trading card game. It soon was a worldwide hit, becoming a schoolyard staple in the 90s. It's still everywhere and inspiring conventions. Hasbro acquired Wizards of the Coast in 1999 and says the game has reached 50 million players thanks to the compelling characters, fantastical world, and a deep strategy required to play. We pride ourselves on being thoughtful caretakers of a singular beloved IP, and no property better fits that description than Magic the Gathering. Alongside the fantastic Hasbro team, we look forward to creating a multimedia universe that thrills long-standing fans and creates a broad wave of new ones. Legendary has turned a number of known brands into the franchise, such as Godzilla vs. Kong and Dune, both of which have spanned film and TV. It's also behind Netflix Enola Holmes movie, and coming up, it has a Minecraft movie as well. It says Hasbro already has a Magic the Gathering TV show set up at Netflix with Star Trek Picard showrunner Terry Matalis, while a decade ago, Century Fox developed a film universe that never got off the ground. This is an exciting and complementary partnership, uniting one of the world's most iconic brands with a powerful and proven strategy. Magic the Gathering has inspired decades of epic world building and creative storytelling. It's a perfect match for Legendary's diversified approach to marquee IP, and we're excited to work together to build a whole new Magic the Gathering universe. I think this is a really smart move. This is one I'm excited for. Look, I personally have never really gotten into the card game, the trading card game that is Magic the Gathering. But as a comic book fan, going to the comic book store on a weekly basis, it's everywhere. I mean, I see people purchasing Magic the Gathering cards all the freaking time. I know how big of an IP this is, how many people and lives it certainly has touched, and how many fans of it there certainly is. There is a world out there where this is going to be rather successful. And even though I'm not a big Magic the Gathering fan in regards to the card game, I do love fantasy worlds. I love well thought out world building and lore attached to it. I love me some knights, dragons, magic. I mean, I love that particular fantastical world. So to be able to have that brought to life in a thoughtful manner to television and movies in general, I'll probably watch it. I'll probably watch it regardless of if I've been a fan of the trading card game or not. But I think this is a big win for them. Look, you know, Hasbro is taking their two big IPs in Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering and really propelled them. I am curious if they have anything else for Dungeons and Dragons outside of maybe a potential sequel. I don't know how the first Dungeons and Dragons movie did at the box office, but I feel like it was pretty well received in regards to it. So I am kind of curious what else Hasbro has in store. But this fits. I think when you can do Magic the Gathering, a television or movie, build that into a television series, have some connective tissues between the two of them, I think this is a big win. Look, I am a little bit bummed and still a little bit butthurt that Hasbro changed course. What could have potentially have been something for Power Rangers now given to Magic the Gathering. I do feel some type of way about that, honestly. But you know, when you have somebody that is the CEO that worked at the Wizards of the Coast and really helmed these two IPs in Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering to superstardom status, if you will, and just doing big things for the company, I can see why they would want to change course. You know, Magic the Gathering has a huge lore to it. They can really sink their teeth into. Not to say that Power Rangers certainly does it, but when it's in your sandbox that you have worked with before and you know this world sort of inside and out, I can understand the idea of Hasbro sort of pushing this to the forefront of something that they really want to immediately establish. And people love fantastical worlds that they can kind of live in, and when it's really well thought out like that, like the world of Magic the Gathering is, I think this could be quite successful, to be quite honest with you. So big news for them, to certainly say the least, and we'll see where it definitely goes from there. But yeah, man, I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts in regards to that. I do find it interesting that it does mention that there is a Magic the Gathering TV show already in the works over at Netflix. I find it fascinating because I am curious, will that show even connect into the bigger world that Legendary and Hasbro are working on? How does that Netflix deal work then, right? Like, if it's not connected, that feels like it's maybe too many moving pieces. But I guess maybe we'll have to wait and see how that Magic the Gathering show on Netflix works out first. Like, Is it just going to be a one-off season because Netflix then knows, hey, you're working with somebody else in regards to Legendary to bring movies and eventually television series to life? Will that stuff eventually go over to, say, something like HBO Max and not necessarily Netflix, right? So it almost makes me wonder, is the Netflix Magic the Gathering television show already like one and done? Is that something that they may pull the plug on because they now have this deal with Legendary? I will be kind of curious to see how and if that comes together. But let me know your guys' thoughts on that overall. But yeah, big things from Magic the Gathering. I think this is a really great win for them as an IP for sure. All right, guys, with that out of the way, that will wrap up all of our main topics today. And I think you know what time it is.
And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And we're going to get into our live viewer question portion of the show. How do you submit a live viewer question over? I'm glad you asked. I'll go ahead and show you guys right now. Actually, let me go ahead and put on some music here first. Get this music going. There we go. Give me a minute. I might sound might go in and out for a little bit, so bear with me here. I'm gonna go ahead and get this set up. All right. So how do you submit a live viewer question? It's pretty simple. Always go over to our YouTube channel here. As you see right here, every Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, we will go ahead and drop a post. Just click on the post tab here and you will see live viewer questions. We got 9 questions here today. Let me sort this stuff out here and get this working for you guys today. Jessica Friedman, would you like to see a live action SWAT Cats movie one day? And do you think Paramount, once they get the rights to Power Rangers, will go back to adapting Super Sentai seasons or make all American Max shows like Cosmic Fury? That's a good question, Jessica. As far as a SWAT Cats live action, give me a minute. I don't know if I would say a live action. I would be open to an animated film though, or at least a new animated series. SWAT Cats had like 2 seasons worth. I don't know if I would say live action, but as far as like a animated feature film or a new animated series, I could see either of those 2 happening. And once Paramount gets the rights back to Power Rangers, will they go back to adapting Super Sentai or make all American Max shows like Cosmic Fury? I'm under the impression that it's going to be all original, but I could be absolutely wrong in that regards. But I am under the impression this is going to be like a reboot. But who knows? They can kind of play with it however they want to. I need to hear more information first on it. Peg C, did you ever watch Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad before it was? If so, what were your initial thoughts? I used to growing up as a kid. It's been years. Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. I always dug the costume, that's for sure. I always liked the main actor in there too. I'm trying to remember if I had seen this kid in other things prior to. Give me a second. Let me Google this even further. It wasn't on very long. It felt like this was like was this like a American tokusatsu, or was this adapted from something? Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, short for SSS, is a television series produced by Super Ride Productions. Okay, so it was produced by Super Ride Productions with distribution by All American. It ran for duration of 53 episodes and is a syndication as well as on ABC. Is an adaptation of the Toku series Gridman. Okay, so it was Gridman and then it was a tokusatsu. Okay, I see what you're saying. All right, so yeah, very much similar to that of Power Rangers. Oh, Matthew Lawrence? That was him? I was like, I know this kid looks super familiar. I don't know why. Oh my gosh, that was him. I was like, why did that kid look so familiar to me? I didn't even put two and two together that was Matthew Lawrence that played the main character in it. But no, I was a big fan of it. It definitely was something that I watched. I did love the costume designs, the fighting style in it for sure. I can't remember it off the top of my head, like I can't remember it off the top of my head, like detail plot wise, but I do remember it, especially because I was like big video game kid back in the day too. So the fact that it kind of tapped into that aspect of video games and being sucked into like that artificial world kind of really worked for me. So I was a really big fan of it. If you haven't had the opportunity to check it out, I would recommend it. What are your thoughts on Warner Brothers dumping all their movies on YouTube? Have they dumped all their movies on YouTube? I don't know if they dumped all their movies on YouTube. Maybe it's just like a small portion of movies. Yeah, it says putting older films. I don't know where. Yeah, it says Warner Brothers is mysteriously dumping obscure and wonderful movies on YouTube for free. Yeah, I am fascinated by it. But yes, definitely not all their films. They definitely are like picking out certain ones. I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, to allow it to be available for people to certainly watch. I mean, we live in a time period now where these entities are so tight on how they handle their IP and where they distribute it at, if they distribute it at all. You know, sometimes there are movies that will be on a streaming service and then just completely gone. So even if they are obscure, maybe some good WB movies, if there's a place for people to be able to watch them for free, I'm all for it. I mean, look, you know, I also think too, at the end of the day, and I think we talked a little bit about this too, you know, same thing with like Power Rangers on Netflix, right? I think sometimes the Power Rangers shows maybe didn't warrant Netflix to, maybe it costs more for Netflix to host them and have those rights than actually making money off of them based off of the viewership that they were getting, right? Like maybe for Netflix, it didn't make financially sort of any sense. Maybe people just weren't watching those shows enough to see the benefit of paying as much as they were for them. Granted, WB can kind of just put them on their own Max streaming service. So two things here. I think maybe the fact that they aren't putting them on Max, maybe they feel to themselves monetarily, we can make more money if they're on YouTube, for people that will go and watch them that way, because maybe they're just not getting, they wouldn't get the viewership that we would want them to get on something like Max, that, you know what I'm saying? So maybe they thought to themselves monetarily, for these type of films, maybe they would do better for us financially if we could drop them on YouTube. We can throw ads on there, whatever the case may be. But I also do wonder if it's like a sleazeball way or slimeball way of not necessarily having to pay those creators for putting their stuff on streaming service. You know, I do wonder if with it being on YouTube, does it then undercut the creators, the writers and the directors and the stars, and that movie then just go to WB? I do wonder if that has anything to do with it also. So maybe benefit to fans. I don't know how well it benefits the creators and the people that maybe expect some level of royalties behind them. I would need somebody in the royalties to kind of explain that to me. But maybe highs and low points to that happening. Did you watch The Lion King live at Hollywood Bowl at Disney Plus yet, where they perform all the songs from the movie and have Jason Weaver and Nathan Lane? I have not. What did you think of the Dark Rangers and the Psycho Rangers? I was always a big fan of the Psycho Rangers. The Dark Rangers I barely remember, honestly, but I was always a big fan of the Psycho Rangers. Always left the impression on me. I was just a really big fan of the design for them, for sure. The most talented man in the world. 2023 Hollywood strike was a significant labor dispute involving two major unions, the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild. Writers Guild representing over 11,000 screenwriters. The WGA went on strike against the Alliance of Motion Pictures, and then SAG-AFTRA was the actors joined the writers on strike. I can't remember when we had this episode, but I had my cousin James Bethia, who was a writer and also a producer in Hollywood. He came on and spoke with me and the crew during the actors strike in regards to why they were picketing, why they were walking the lines and stuff. It was a great episode. If you guys want to go ahead and check it out, I can't remember, but clearly if it was sometime in July, May to September, it might have been during that time period, but try and find it if you want. The strike stemmed from concerns over streaming compensation. Writers and actors sought better compensation models in the age of streaming, where traditional residual payments have significantly decreased. I still don't even know if they're getting paid fairly, honestly. AI, the unions aim to protect their members from the potential displacement by AI in the creative process and job security. Impact: the strikes caused significant disruption in film and television production, delaying numerous projects and impacting the broader entertainment industry. Question: how might the outcomes of the 2023 Hollywood strike reshape the future of creative work and labor relations in the entertainment industry? Should actors only be used as AI if they had passed away and have given consent from their families? Yeah, I mean, I would need I would only feel comfortable with that if actors should only be used AI after they've passed away and if given consent from their families. I mean, if they're still alive, then yeah, maybe get consent from the actors themselves. But after they pass away, yeah, their estate would need to have consent over that, unless the actors themselves in their will or whatever the case may be is like, no, I never want people to use my likeness or use me in kind of AI going forward. But look, as much as AI continues to change and streaming services continue to change, I really hope that the outcomes from these strikes help actors and writers of today and tomorrow kind of going forward. I still don't necessarily think that they're probably paid fair compensation. I think the streaming service is very much like, I don't want to say a pyramid scheme so much, but there just seems something really schemy about things, especially when you can't get a fair assessment of, these companies don't really share fair assessments of like how many people are watching them. They've got these weird things of 11 million minutes watched, 10 billion minutes watched, the Nielsen rankings. I mean, maybe give you a sense of like viewership, but I don't necessarily know if those are correct at the end of the day. Also, I think there's a lot of other things that can kind of be taken into account. So I still think that the people are being undercut. I think there's plenty more that these streaming services and production studios probably could have given up. Screw these shareholders, man. But I think they just care about the shareholders and making money. But hopefully the new contracts are doing them well. I hope that they are. My friends call me Joseph. Impact of Stranger Things and its future after season 5. Yeah, we just talked about this last week. Stranger Things has undeniably become a cultural phenomenon, captivating audiences with its blends of 80s nostalgia, supernatural horror, and compelling characters. Its impact is evident in the resurgence of interest in the 80s pop culture, from music and fashion to films and games. The show masterfully weaves together classic tropes from horror and science fiction, creating a unique and thrilling viewing experience. The performances of the young cast has been particularly lauded, propelling them to stardom and solidifying their place as prominent figures in the entertainment industry. Beyond entertainment, Stranger Things has sparked conversation about the power of friendship, the challenges of adolescence, and the importance of resilience in the face of adversity. The upcoming 5th and final season has generated immense anticipation, with fans eagerly awaiting the resolution of many cliffhangers and the ultimate fate of their beloved characters. Will the show deliver a satisfying conclusion that honors its legacy and provide closure for its dedicated fan base? I think so. And can the creators effectively tie up all loose ends while still leaving a lasting impact? I think so. I think the Duffer Brothers have been really compelling and really smart in regards to their writing choices. Granted, besides the hiccup that was season 2, I think everything has been really well kept together. I would be kind of curious to see if there's how many big loopholes or how many big like plot holes there still might be out there. But I have a feeling that the Duffer Brothers have a good grasp on things and the story that they want to tell. The question of a spinoff is a complex one. While the world of spinoff Stranger Things offers rich possibilities for expansion, history shows that spinoffs often struggle to capture the magic of the original series. Almost like most shows nowadays that have spinoffs, they often get canceled after a season or two, failing to live up to the expectations set by the predecessor. A spinoff could explore the backstories of certain characters, delve deeper into the lore of the Upside Down, or even introduce a new group of protagonists facing supernatural threats. However, there's also a risk of diluting the original's impact and potentially harming its legacy. Would a spinoff truly enhance the Stranger Things universe, or would it be a case of diminishing returns? Ultimately, the decision rests with the creators, who must carefully weigh the potential benefits against the risk of oversaturating the market and compromising the integrity of the original series. Like many shows nowadays that have spinoffs, they often get canceled after seasons 1 or 2. That's true, and I think they're very in tune with that. Based off of the interview that we talked about last week, they seem to have their hands in a lot of things in regards to the future of Stranger Things on Netflix. I mean, you could look at something really successful in the sense of a House of the Dragon over on Max, that being a spinoff from Game of Thrones, or at least that universe and world. I think the time separation kind of really helps it though, and allows it to kind of stand on its own, but know that it's a part of that world. So maybe there is an idea for a Stranger Things spinoff that allows it to separate itself and have enough distance and not necessarily be so connected to the main series, but just be inspired by it. And so I do think, I mean, I get what you're saying, but maybe not necessarily like hey, let's follow this character right after this particular series. I think if there's another story, a unique one to kind of be told, maybe from a character that had a brief moment, but maybe not a core moment as part of the big overall series, maybe you can kind of get away with something like that. But time will tell. But I understand the concern there from time to time. Let's see if I can. For some reason, this will not allow me to see all of Power Grid's comment. I'll come back to it. Power of the Morphin Grid. Marky Parko, the new Spider-Man animated series, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, has elicited mixed reactions. Some viewers praise his diverse characters and contemporary approach, while others criticize his perceived wokeness due to the changes in race swapping and LGBTQ representation. This division in opinion may reflect different expectations from modern Spider-Man stories and potentially highlighting broader issues surrounding adaptations and representation in the media. While some find the inclusivity refreshing, others believe it distracts from the core of the Spider-Man narrative. This raises the question of whether the controversy stems from different interpretations of the source material or deeper social anxieties about representation. Do you agree or disagree? This raises questions of whether the controversy stems from different interpretations. I don't think it's different interpretations of social media. I think there's a deeper social anxieties about representation for sure would be the issue for me. I mean, others believe it detracts from the core of Spider-Man narrative. What is that Spider-Man narrative that hinders so much on the idea that his supporting cast be mixed race of characters, right? Like there's nothing about Spider-Man's narrative as far as what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man that hinders and depends on, there's like no core aspect of who the Spider-Man character is. Peter Parker isn't a great character because his friends in the original comic book are white, right? The core of Peter Parker and who Spider-Man isn't because the people that he saves in the comic books are white, right? I mean, the guy literally grows up in Queens, my guy. Queens is like as multiracial as they come. Like I feel like half these fans have never walked down the streets of New York in their entire life. I I mean, you want to talk about the idea of a melting pot for somebody that grew up in the Bronx and somebody that grew up in Brooklyn and was raised also in New Jersey for like the first 10 years of his life. I've met so many people of different cultures from living in those two particular states. So I would say people need to get out of their houses more, touch grass, experience other aspects of worlds that are not of your own, and maybe take a stroll down Queens, New York, and just see what you see outside. And I can guarantee you that what you see outside looks a lot more like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man than what you think looks like in your head. And again, if we are in an alternate MCU, if we're telling an alternate story of these characters, having adaptions and representations of what people look like is completely normal and should be completely normal. So yes, Spider-Man is woke. If that bothers you, don't watch it. I'm sorry that you have not paid attention to comic books for the last 40 years, 20 years. Maybe some of these people come into comic book movies and televisions, and that's all they know is this stuff from that particular form of media, and they've never picked up a comic book in their life to understand the true values and representation of what these characters certainly stand for. Open up a book, read a comic book. I think if you understand what it is that you're reading, you would not have any issues with the different interpretations of what Spider-Man is. Spider-Man is woke. I'm sorry to tell you that. And if your definition of woke is the idea of diversity, inclusion, equity, yeah, Spider-Man has always been about that, as has so many other superhero characters out there. So I'm sorry to tell you, but your favorite characters probably woke in some regards. Okay, this isn't like a new thing whatsoever. Just because some people feel some type of way about it now, don't try and start changing the narrative of who these superheroes have always born to be. Again, Queens, New York, as multicultural as it comes. I'm sorry if you live in a society and a town full of just white people, straight white men and women. If that's all you see every day, I would say get out more. So no, I think controversy stems from a deeper societal anxiety about representation. These people live in this world. They exist. This stuff should not bother you. If it does bother you, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. So that's what I would say to those people, Marky. Doomsday, how do you feel that SPD is officially 20 years old and that we've entered its timeline? Do you think SPD still holds up in 2025? Yeah, I still think it does, honestly. Do you find it absurd how people nowadays use the slang term woke for literally everything that's not straight? I mean, do I find it absurd? Oh yeah, absolutely. I find it absurd. Literally, we was just talking about that in the last question. I look, when I think of the term woke, I think of the idea of being woke to the injustices, the inequality, whether that be racial inequality, wealth inequality, corporations, billionaires, government taking advantage of you, and trying to make you fearmonger your everyday neighbor and the person that lives beside you, and worry more about people's skin color than the things that are actually going around in society these days, right? Like when I think of the term woke, I mean, it means to be aware of the atrocities and the injustices that are going on around you. The idea that people have now turned this term woke into the idea of like anything that's not straight and white is like woke is a bad thing. Like, no, that to me, you know, growing up, when people used to use it to stay woke, there was always an opposite to that. And you know what that opposite was? If you weren't woke, you were sleep. And nobody wants to be sleep. Like, who wants to be like completely closed off to the truths of the world or the things that are happening around you, sort of thing, right? So it's just interesting how they want to sort of change the definition of what words mean these days, you know, and making them take on new connotations and stuff. But I've really come to, I don't want to say hate the term woke, but I feel like I almost want to embrace it again and take back what it truly means, because I would rather be woke any day than be just sleepwalking around in this world, and having just terrible shit happen to other people around me. than what's actually happening in this world, unfortunately. So yeah, it's become pretty disgusting, honestly. Like the term DEI and woke these days are just becoming like dog whistles from some level of insecurities and racism that's out there, unfortunately. Which team are you rooting for during tonight's Super Bowl? Are you looking forward to Kendrick Lamar singing Not Like Us during this halftime show? I am rooting for, this is a hard one for me. Because I am a Cowboys fan. You know, it's hard for me to root for anybody within the NFC. So it's always F Eagles. But I also want to see history happen with the Chiefs. If I had to pick a team, it would probably be the Chiefs for me. Because I do want to see history be made. I think it would be pretty cool. But I also know that they would openly accept the invite from the president to go to the White House. So that's a little bit nah to me personally. But if I had to go with the two, it'd probably be the Chiefs, honestly. And I think I'm probably watching the Super Bowl mostly for the movie trailers and definitely Kendrick Lamar's performance. I definitely want to see what he does here. I think it's going to be symbolic. I think it's going to have some great meaning to it. I hope he gets the opportunity to perform Not Like Us. Drake's snowflake ass just needs to get over it. He lost. And I think Kendrick Lamar should just celebrate and just continue to dig that coffin, my guy. Continue to dig that grave. But yeah, I don't know. He may not even perform Not Like Us, or maybe there's a part of me that thinks that they probably don't want him to. But I would not be like Kendrick Lamar to just listen to them. But we'll see. I don't know what it's going to turn out to be like. Blossom, remember when I said that Toei should make Sentai villains modeled after Mr. Smithers and Mr. Burns? Since Burns has a snake-like body, what kind of snake should Burns like villain be? What kind of snake should Burns be? I don't know if Burns... He's got to be like a rattlesnake or a cobra or something like that. I was going to say anaconda, but those are like way too big. I would say a rattlesnake or a cobra for sure. Do you remember when I said that Eltar had some mirror that reads the Ranger's auras? How'd it be if I had a team Imaginatrix find it, because a lot of the civilians in Emerald Creek said some horrible things about them, as well as their belief in the Rangers' existence, that it affected their ability to fight. How would it be if I had to find it? Because a lot of the civilians in Emerald Creek have said some horrible things about them, as well as their belief in the Rangers' existence, that it affected their ability to fight. No, I don't know if I'm feeling that one. Eltar had some mirrors that reads the Ranger's auras. If you're saying like, if you're saying it because the civilians have been saying some terrible things and it's now affected the team, and the team find the mirrors and they can see that it sort of affected their auras and changed them as people because of the negative things that the people are saying, then okay. I can make that work. But what I think you would need is, you would have to see, I am curious if we could see a before and after. Like, not find it because the people are saying it, but have already found it, see their auras, see who they are as kind of people early on, right? Maybe be able to read their own auras already to help give them that boost of confidence, or at least help them better understand people. And then as your series progresses, maybe people are starting to say horrible things about them, have the characters go through those trials and tribulations, and then maybe when they revisit the mirrors, they can then see how those things have affected them the second time around. Are those auras of who they are as strong as they used to be, or have they changed over time? And make them come across them the second time in a way that's maybe not necessarily purposeful, but just happens in some other sort of natural way. But maybe not. Yeah, that's how I would go about it. Not have them discover the mirrors because of what the civilians are saying. Have them discover it before, then have all that stuff happen with the civilians, and then have them revisit the mirrors again in some capacity. Hey Adam, would you like to see Power Rangers adaptation King Oger as a soft reboot with crossover spinoff, Kamen Rider adapt to Gotchard or Gave? Bakugan are doing live action film development. What if I would like to see Power Rangers adaptation go Oger as a soft reboot with crossover spinoff, Kamen Rider adapt to? I mean, that'd be pretty cool. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but it would be pretty cool. I definitely, especially with the King Oger suits and storyline, I would love to see a Power Ranger adaptation of that for sure. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I personally dig it. Let me see if I can restart this, y'all. Hold on a second. I'm trying to see if I can get some of these, because some of these questions just stop at the read more segment. It doesn't allow me to read more sometimes. Damn, Power of the Morphing Grid. For some reason, I cannot pull up your question fully. I'm so sorry about that, man. Let me see if I can find it another way here. Hold on a second. Comments. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I can bring it up this way. Hold on a second. Oops, my camera went off. Sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen. How long was that down? I wasn't even looking at the main screen when I was reading it, so I have no idea how long my face wasn't even showing. Power of the Morphin Grid, the perils of parody, Power Ranger impact on Power Rangers Turbo. Turbo, despite aiming for a fresh start, faced significant hurdles due to its adaptation of Power Ranger. Power Ranger's comedic and often nonsensical approach translated into jarring inconsistencies and moments of absurdity within Turbo. The direct transition of quirky elements such as Tommy consulting an instruction manual for his Zord, or an entire episode focused on TJ's baseball skills, felt incongruence with the expected level of superhero competence. The villains, particularly Elgar and Rygog, often appear comical in the original footage, and the inclusion of bizarre elements like the Trouble by the Slice episode further emphasized the comedic tone of Power Ranger, clashing with their intended dramatic weight of Turbo's storyline. Even in later seasons, the influences of Power Ranger remain evident. The Turbo Rangers' appearance in Super Megaforce showcased their penchant for the unconventional, a clear nod to Power Ranger's unique style. This constant need to incorporate the often nonsensical Japanese footage led to a series that felt uneven and occasionally jarring. While the second half of Turbo saw the improvement in writing and greater emphasis on original storylines, the underlying influence of Power Ranger remained a significant obstacle. In inclusion, the decision to adapt Power Ranger proved to be a significant challenge for Turbo, while other factors such as the abrupt abandonment of the Zeo storyline and initial reception of Justin contributed to the reception. The inherent comedy and the nonsensical nature of Power Rangers significantly impacted the overall tone and quality of Turbo. Had a different Sentai season been chosen, Turbo may have avoided some of the criticism it received and potentially achieved a more consistent and impactful narrative. You know, I am kind of curious how impactful Turbo was ratings wise to the show. Like I wonder how if it really hurt the show in regards to maybe undercutting it for not having more seasons than what it potentially could have had. I am kind of curious in the drop into the drop of what the ratings might have been. If somebody knows, let me know, please. I just want to double check, make sure I got everybody except for Marcelino. Peg C, I answered yours. Yes, my friends call me Joseph. Yeah. A Doomsday, did I get all your questions? Yes. Blossom. Okay, so okay. So last up, Marcelino, when you Corey Stoll return an Ant-Man and a Wasp as Mona, did you become furious with rage, pull out your hair, raise both your middle fingers, and yell out, "F you, Corey Stoll, eat and die, you mother"? No, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. But I cannot stand the guy. I cannot stand the guy. Yeah, anytime I see him in the movie, even if I never watched the movie, if I see him in a trailer or something, I just go, ah. Like I just immediately just the like, I'm not gonna lie, there might be like one or two lines from him as MODOK that I was a fan of, that I thought was funny, but outside of that, like, am I an Avenger? Like, I don't know. It's just why I don't like why. It was just the CGI was bad. He was just bad on the, like, why, guys? Why do we go down this path? India said how much he hates Candace Patton as Iris West, but give me your thoughts. What are your thoughts on Candace Patton as Iris West, or relationship between Barry and Iris? Maybe I didn't stick around the show enough to grow to hate her as much as Indy did, but I never really had issues with Candace Patton as Iris West. I mean, if I'm talking like just from a character perspective, maybe as a person, maybe I have some issues, but like as Iris, I always really enjoyed her relationship with Barry. Were there times that I felt like maybe she took on too much of a bigger role at times when I think Barry probably should have? Yeah, I think maybe writer, like, not to say that Candace Patton as Iris West didn't deserve for her character to have more impact at times. That's cool, but there are times when I felt like she kind of took over the main storytelling a little bit. But I always liked her as Iris. I always liked her relationship with Barry. Frustrating at times, I think, as a viewer. Sometimes I think maybe blaming things on Barry that she shouldn't. But I always liked the relationship. I thought she did pretty good as Iris was. I don't hate her as much as Indy did. But then again, I think Indy stuck around for a lot more seasons than I certainly did. But I was a big fan of the relationship between the two of them. When it comes to Hawkman and Hawkgirl from Legends of Tomorrow, they were not well liked, and too many there are still see as the worst part of Legends. Hawkman was lame, boring, and his actor wasn't good, and Hawkgirl was seen as a whiny brat. People were glad they left. I was wondering what makes you like them and find them as interesting characters. I didn't really care for Hawkman. I did like Hawkgirl to a certain extent. I did think I wasn't a fan of the actor that played Hawkman. I think for me, I was really smitten on the idea of Hawkgirl and the tease of her and Cisco. I really enjoyed that relationship building that they had before Hawkman came in and was a cock blocker, to say the least. And I think too, there was a part of me that I always wanted to see a Hawk whoever as part of a live adaptation to a series. And I always found the origin story for Hawkgirl and Hawkman, just the idea of either being aliens or reincarnation, as an interesting origin. And I always thought it added an interesting dilemma to whoever that main character was, having lived all those lives and being resurrected or reincarnated again, and bumping into each other. I don't know. I was always just a really big fan of that character point. So to kind of see Hawkgirl brought to life Her ferocity, just her relationship with Cisco, I think really kind of worked for me. And I kind of wanted to see more of her. I thought there was going to be more of a, if I'm pronouncing it right, a Thangarian war. That they kind of teased that. I was hoping that would eventually come back. So I'm more of a fan of Hawkgirl than I was the Hawkman character. I didn't really care for Hawkman at all. But it's been a minute since I've watched the show itself. I feel like I would probably still feel the same way. Them as a pair, I didn't care for, but Hawkgirl as a character, yes, I was a fan. But yeah, I mean, I would have to revisit season 1 of Legends of Tomorrow though to give you a more accurate, like just character perspective, like character personality traits that I was a fan of. But yeah, guys, that will do it for all of our live viewer questions. Let's see here, just some last couple of questions here. Blossom says, good idea. That was kind of what I was going for the record. There was only one mirror. Okay, cool. Or maybe just have like one ranger revisit the mirror after being really hurt by it. And when I envision it, I envision the idea that the team's already discovered the mirror. They've already seen their auras. They've got this confidence about them. Events in your series happen. Maybe what happens with the civilians really affects one of the other rangers, and maybe they somehow manage to find their way standing in front of it, just seeing what their aura has changed into, contemplating life. And who knows, maybe the other rangers come to console this person, and in turn of consoling them, they also get to see how their auras have kind of changed from that particular moment, or over time too, and it gives them a better perspective of who they are again after all this, and maybe gives them something to fight for in the sense of bettering themselves, to be better people, or to have more of a confidence in themselves. I don't know, just something to play along with. Marcelino says, Candace Patton says Iris was annoying in the beginning, but it's adorable type of annoying. Also, she's nowhere near as bad as Cecile Chester. Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I would completely agree with that. I think there are worse people in this show, especially like all the people that you named. I kind of dug Chester, but again, I only remember Chester from bits and pieces. I never really rocked with Chester in the sense of he was like Cisco light to me, but I never hung around Chester's episodes enough to really get a fix of who he was, with the exception of a couple here and there. Cecile was just annoying to me off the bat, but a lot of those characters I didn't really know too well, but just from experiencing them as briefly as I did, nowhere near as annoying or as bad of a character as Iris West. But I would agree with you, the adorable type of annoying at times, but their relationship really kind of worked for me. Marcelino says Hawkgirl actress left because she hated working in Vancouver and wanted to go back to Broadway. Each their own. Adam, which character, ranger, and writer would you like to be? I'm never a really big writer fan, so I'll just take Kamen Rider Zero, just because I love this suit. As far as ranger that I've always wanted to be, I've always wanted to be green, man. Green, like original Tommy Green Ranger, or Zeo Gold. Always the two I always wanted to be. But yeah, and if we're talking Sentai, give me a Captain Marvelous, Gokai Red, baby. But yeah. All right, y'all, that will do it for all of our live viewer questions. So thank you everybody for certainly tuning in today. As always, we always appreciate it. Again, if you ever want to submit a live viewer question, we always drop a post Saturday afternoon or evening for you guys. And just go over to our YouTube channel, click on that post tab, and you will find it there. But that will do it for us here, man. We went a little bit longer than I personally would have liked to have today, but thank you for everybody that tuned in, stuck around. If you haven't hit that, like button yet, please certainly go ahead and do so. I do plan on being back here live for you guys next week. Hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit about Captain America, Brave New World for you guys. I'll talk with Stuart, maybe Indy. I believe Indy has his apartment now. Whether or not he's got his internet up yet, I'll go ahead and talk. I'll talk with him a little bit and see when we can get Indy back on the show. But maybe we can have a Brave New World spoiler live review for you guys, maybe sometime Sunday afternoon, or maybe Monday evening, to give everybody the weekend to go ahead and see the film for themselves. But I'll keep you guys posted. But regardless, definitely expect a new batch of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man reviews later on this week for episodes 6, 7, and 8 that are going to be dropping, I think, on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. And then any other big news that might up dropping, whether it be news or trailers, we may have a couple of random videos for you guys as well. But until next week, guys, do me a big favor, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.